She's been replaced by Dr. Orchid.
Dr. what?
Dr. Orchid.
Do you mean Dr. Orchid?
Orchid, that's right, yeah. The attractive adopted... Just calm down.
Differently interesting extra time communion for minicab drivers.
Take the money and sit back down again.
Breastfeeding mums.
Oh, you've not been giving it its breakfast again, have you?
And people disturbed by urban foxes engaged in the act of lovemaking behind their bins.
Anybody there?
The two Mikes. Overworked, overweight, overpaid, overnight. On Talk Sport.
The Two Mikes, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Good morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry, you're listening to the Two Mikes and we're keeping you entertained throughout the night. It's the end of the road for Gareth Bale and the Wales team, a disappointing game where they were overshadowed in almost every area by Portugal and Ronaldo. A double blow in the second half left them with too much to do.
Back it goes towards the left full-back Guerrero. His ball inside the penalty area is headed away by Chester. Bounces down on the edge of the box for Ronaldo! Side-footed in by Nani! He's turned it in for two! 2 goals in 3 minutes! And the dream could well be over! Portugal hitting straight away! Ronaldo firing it in with a misdirected shot, but Nani was the quickest to react. He slid in and toe-poked it past the wrong-footed Hennessy. And Wales have a mountain to climb.
And they weren't really able to climb that mountain. Tonight, of course, it's France v Germany. Let's see whether Porky can jinx the world champions. 08717 22 3344. Also coming up on the show, it's Porky Vision time. The best TV review this side of Offers Dyke. You don't want to miss what Porky hasn't been watching. You're listening to the Two Mikes with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mikes, and I'm delighted to say it's time to say a very, very good morning to the formerly Welsh Mr. Mike Porky Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
And a very good morning to you, Mike. And you have to say, at the end of the day, just a little bit too much for the Welsh nation to...
Yeah. What are you doing with your microphone?
Well, it was a bit bent.
Why don't you wrestle with it before the show starts so that you're not actually making this terrible noise all the time?
Because I expect my people to have done it by the time
Your
I walk
people?
into our studio. You see what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah,
there's a bit of a shortage of your people around.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not the BBC anymore.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
It's absolutely true.
But yeah, no, people
Don't
complain
get 5
about
producers
people,
per show.
People get I get complaints all the time about this noise that you make. You know, banging the desk.
No. Excuse me.
And
now, hang on.
about with the microphone and all that.
I keep meaning to tell you about this.
Yeah.
You spend a lot of time on your tablet. That's why it looks so tatty and in need of another cover. I don't know if you can get a new cover, can you?
What do you mean, a case?
A case, yeah.
Well, I could get another case.
Yeah. But I mean,
does it bother you?
But no, it doesn't bother me.
You that it's slightly frayed at
No,
the edges?
it doesn't bother me. But what you don't understand is because you think you're being extra productive during the show and you're knocking out messages on your tablet, that is the sound.
No, what I'm doing is...
Mike, that is the sound.
No, it's not.
It is, I swear to you.
Well, you were just
here. I'll just imitate you on your tablet now, right. and the audience can make up their mind, okay? Yeah. So I'm now going to type a note to you, okay?
Yeah, okay, all right.
So here we go.
In your imaginary world. If you don't have a tablet,
Here, HOWYOUTAYYOUEYEDFOOL.
No, it's no wonder it took so long to you write a story. Is that how you type?
No, that's how I type. That's how I type. That's how most people type.
No, that's not how most people type.
Well, now you do that during the show, and that's the sound that goes back down the feedback channel.
One of the many things that I do on this show, which you don't do.
One of the many things you do.
One of the many things
I didn't know you did many things on this show.
Well, that's because you
just turn up.
That's because you're completely oblivious to what it is that goes on outside of your tiny mind.
Oh no, I'm not.
What I do is I interact with people on Twitter.
People on Twitter. Well, I interact with people on Twitter.
No, you don't. People are always complaining that I am the man of the people because I actually, I actually talk to people, have conversations with people on Twitter, whether the show is on or whether the show is not on. Yeah. Whereas what you do is just relentlessly promote yourself whenever there's something to promote.
No.
That's what they always say.
It's a nonsense.
Or
you
you attack me. You don't actually use Twitter to interact with the fans.
I do, but I'm sensible.
I don't think you do.
I'm sensible enough to do it on a handheld device, information device, which then does not send reverberations back down the line. and out into the atmospheric arena of communication that we need.
I can assure you that wrestling with the microphone like this, as you were just doing, is a far more disappointing and dastardly noise.
Well, somebody should have sorted that out. I can't
you should know that when
the
red light comes on, just don't touch the microphone.
Why am I expected to do everything? I mean, I know the old expression, want something done round here, do it yourself and all that kind of stuff. But
if it was left for you to do everything, I'm afraid a lot of things wouldn't happen.
Anyway, the poor old Welsh are now out. Not poor, but I mean, I tell you what will be the next huge event in this country.
What will it be?
It'll be, when I say this country, I mean this country, the United Kingdom.
Yes.
It'll be the return of the Welsh people, the return of the Welsh team to Cardiff Airport to Paris.
Did you?
When we did a match in Cardiff, I can't remember why or what it was, and then next stop was Paris.
I once went on holiday from Cardiff Airport.
Did you?
Yeah. It was when I was living. I know you don't like interested in that.
Yeah, I am.
Sorry, carry on with your fascinating
Well, you asked me first about Cardiff Airport, and I was telling you, and then you decided to interrupt.
Well, you just told me you don't remember why you were there. You don't remember what the match was.
No,
you probably don't remember where you went.
Do you know what I think it was? I think it was the FA Cup final when it was still being played there. I think then what happened was we flew to Paris because I was the Rugby World Cup correspondent, and that was going on.
Right.
And then 2 days later, we flew from Paris to Moscow because England were playing Russia in a qualifier in Moscow.
Okay.
We did the game in Moscow, and then we flew back to Paris, did a game there, and then flew to Marseille, and then flew back to London, and for some unknown reason ended back up in Cardiff on a train.
Are you sure you haven't mixed up a whole load of tournaments into one?
No, they're all happening at the same time.
So basically, so you've got an England International, you've got the FA Cup final, you've got the Rugby World Cup, and you've got another game somewhere in Marseille.
All happening at the same time.
Are you sure you haven't just concertinaed everything into one memory?
No, honestly, it all happened.
I don't believe you.
No, I'm telling you, it all happened.
No, I don't think so.
And actually, I've just remembered.
Have you?
I've just remembered. It wasn't Cardiff Airport.
I've just remembered.
Yeah, it wasn't Cardiff Airport.
Right, okay.
Do you know what it was?
What was it?
It was Bristol Airport.
Was it?
Yeah, no joke. I remember now.
I used to fly in and out there a lot as well.
We did the game in Cardiff, and then the car came, and I said, right, where are we going? They said, the airport. And then I remember we were going over a bridge, and the 7 estuary was below us.
Yeah.
And I said, why are we going across this water? Where are we off to? And they said, the airport.
Did you not recognise it as a 7 estuary?
Well, not really. I've not been over that many times.
This is similar to the story of when you went to Cardiff on the train, isn't it?
What?
When you asked the guard where the river was.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and he said, do you remember that big long tunnel that you came through just before we got to Cardiff?
We went under the river.
We went under it.
That's right. Yeah, I was rather upset. But anyway, no, we. So then the car took us to.
Why are you telling this story?
Because you asked. The car.
Right, here was the question.
Yeah.
Have you ever flown out of Cardiff Airport?
Yes.
Your answer should have been no. Have you?
No, but
instead of which I'm getting this ridiculous kind of travelogue of how you didn't fly out of Cardiff Airport.
Seriously.
You flew out of Bristol.
I did.
Then you went to Paris.
Bristol.
And then you went to Moscow.
Bristol,
Paris.
And
then you came back to
Moscow.
Paris. And then you
Paris,
went to Marseille.
London.
Cardiff,
that's right. Marseille, London.
Cardiff still hasn't been mentioned.
For some unknown reason.
You said he hedgehogs
back to Cardiff or something. Hey?
You went back to Cardiff?
Yeah.
To the airport?
No, not to the airport, because I
don't
remember
anything.
Cardiff
really,
Airport. Not really. I've never seen signs for Cardiff Airport, so I wouldn't know where it was.
Okay.
I was in.
Would you like to hear my story about Cardiff Airport?
In a second.
You don't want to know, do you?
No, I do. Honestly, I'm very interested. But
shocking.
When we were in Moscow, by the way, we nearly had a disaster coming out of Moscow because the guy who was driving this kind of minibus that was taking us and all our equipment, right, he had a mental breakdown on the way to the airport and went the wrong way. No, he went the wrong way.
Went the wrong way where?
He forgot where the airport was.
What, Bristol?
No, Moscow Airport.
Moscow.
As we were driving out of Moscow City to the airport.
Was he a Russian guy?
Well, no, he was like a Slovakian or something, or something like an Albanian or something like that. And he's driving this bus, and all of a sudden his head started shaking, from side to side.
Yeah.
And he was still driving.
Yeah.
And I thought, this doesn't look good, because I was sitting behind him, and I wondered why he was imitating the disco dancer while he was driving the bus.
Right.
And then when I tried to start speaking to him, and then he started driving off this road somewhere, and I had to ring like a guy who was involved with travel.
Were you the only person on the bus?
No, there was about 4 of us, but I took command. And
who else was on the bus then?
A producer called Matt. right?
Matt?
And yeah.
Oh,
And
well, dodgy Matt.
he's not here anymore. Put it that way. And he's like waving his head around, those kind of stuff. And I said, "What are you doing?" And then he started chanting "Aeropuerto," you know.
Well, in Spanish. Why was he saying it in Spanish?
I don't know.
Slovakian.
I don't
or
know.
Possibly Albanian.
I don't know, but the problem is, he indicated he didn't know where the airport was, but worse than that, didn't care. He was just driving. So he just kept driving, and we missed the flight
You've seen
because
the time now.
he couldn't find the airport.
Can you believe that anybody can listen to this show,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And that whole diatribe of completely and utter
I had to do
Bellocchio.
this. See what
I
I've got.
asked you if you'd ever been to Cardiff Airport.
Go on, describe to the audience what I'm doing now.
No.
No, go on. I've
No,
got
I'm
my
not going
hands
to.
out. My hands out,
No.
like I'm imitating
No,
an aeroplane.
I'm not going to
Audience,
ask you,
okay?
no, I'm not going to interact with you anymore. During the rest of the show,
So I had to
will not
tell
be
the
asking-
driver-
I
I
will
had
not be
to-
asking you any more questions.
I had to indicate to this Russian driver who had a mental breakdown.
Who spoke Spanish?
We should be heading to Aeropuerto. And I had my hands out like this, and I
Yeah.
was going, Aeropuerto.
Yeah. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'll tell you what. Shall we just start the show again? When we come back from the next break, we'll start the show again. We'll start with the whole opener. We'll do the whole thing again. I will not ask Porky any questions, and we'll get straight into it. This is Talk Sport.
The Two Mics. Simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Good morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry. You're listening to the Two Mics. We're keeping you entertained throughout the night. It's the end of the road for Gareth Bale and the Wales team. A disappointing game where they were overshadowed in almost every area by Portugal and Ronaldo. A double blow in the second half left them with too much to do.
Back it goes towards the left full-back Guerrero. His ball inside the penalty area is headed away by Chester. Bounces down on the edge of the box for Ronaldo! Side-footed in by Nani! He's turned it in for two! 2 goals in 3 minutes! And the dream could well be over! Portugal hitting straight away! Ronaldo firing it in with a misdirected shot, but Nani was the quickest to react. He slid in and toe-poked it past the wrong-footed Hennessy. And Wales have a mountain to climb.
Nothing worse than the wrong-footed Hennessy. Tonight, of course, it's France against Germany. Let's see whether Porky can jinx the world champions. 08717 223344. Also coming up on the show, it's Porky Vision time. The best TV review this side of Offers Dyke. You don't want to miss what Porky hasn't been watching. You're listening to the Two Mics with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. It's time to say a very, very good morning to the formerly Welsh Mike Porky Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
We've done all this once. What are you
No,
doing?
we haven't.
What are you doing? You've gone mad.
No, you just think we have.
You just opened the show again.
No, you just
We
think-
opened the show at 1 o'clock. We opened it again at 1:15. What's wrong with you?
You just think we have.
No, I don't. Anyway, good morning to you again.
Yeah.
But I don't know why you're repeating yourself. We're doing this again at 1:30?
No, I thought
and quarter to.
No, I thought we'd start the show again, just because you took over that first section with a ludicrous story about nothing at all.
Well, you asked me a question. I gave you the answer.
No, you
Simple
didn't.
as that, you know.
All right, let me ask you the question again.
Yeah.
And I'm asking you for a one-word answer.
Right.
Have you ever been to Cardiff Airport?
On reflection, no.
Thank you very much indeed. So, anyway, what do you think of the game?
And why did you ask that question anyway? What's the relevance?
Well, because you started talking about the Wales team flying
Well,
back to
indeed, I
Cardiff
have.
Airport
I mean, that's going to be the big celebration of this country next, isn't it?
when they go back to Cardiff Airport.
It'll be bigger than
How are they
D-Day
gonna find it if you haven't
celebrations in
seen-
Wales.
You said you haven't seen any signs.
Sorry?
You said you hadn't seen any signs for it.
To Cardiff Airport?
Yeah.
No, I never have. I've been to Cardiff a lot of times. I've never seen a sign to Cardiff Airport. Have you?
No, yes.
Have you?
Yeah, I have. Because
Do you know where it is?
So I've been to Cardiff Airport.
Do you know where it is?
Yeah, it's outside of Cardiff.
Yes, I know, but which side of Cardiff?
It's generally sort of to the north and west.
North, south, east, west. North, south, east, west. Hang on. So it's towards Swansea.
It is slightly towards Swansea.
Yes, that's
yeah,
right.
but
Yes,
not very
yes,
much.
yes, yeah, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they'll
Because I
fly
once
there.
went on holiday from there.
Say again.
I once went to the Canary Islands from there.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
That's very fascinating.
It was nice, actually. It was one of those things that you
yeah.
don't do, called
Yeah.
a holiday, with my family.
I've got an ambition to go on holiday from Bournemouth Airport.
Have you?
Because it's easy to get in and out of. You know what I mean? There's not many people there.
Well, yeah, the trouble is you've got to get to Bournemouth, which is not so easy to get in and out of.
Well, the family seat's in Bournemouth, so I'm
Yeah.
okay, aren't I?
Well, it's okay.
See
If
what
you,
I mean?
well, it's okay if you're down there.
Yeah, I'll stay overnight.
But, I
you
mean,
know, and then
terrible trip that you have to make to get down to Bournemouth.
No, it's not a terrible trip, and then get one of the families to run me to the airport. Now,
Where can you go to from Bournemouth Airport?
oh, lots of places.
Like where?
Well, quite a lot of places in Europe. Tenerife, you want to go there, you can go there.
Are you going to go there?
Might go to Lanzarote.
Really?
I like Lanzarote. It's a volcanic island.
Yeah.
I like volcanic islands.
Do
I
you?
like Iceland. I like Lanzarote.
Okay.
I like the blackness of them. You know
Do
what I
you?
mean?
Yeah.
You know, the doom and gloom type aspect of the landscape.
Well, all the sort of Canary Islands are vaguely volcanic.
Yeah, sort of.
I
yeah.
once took a car actually through the middle of the of Gran Canaria. It was
Gran
I was on,
Canaria, yeah.
and was attacked by wild dogs.
Oh yeah, I think you've told me that story.
Yeah.
Yeah, wild dogs. Yeah, that's.
And I was in an open top car, which is a bit.
Tell you what, talking about wild dogs, that's
Yeah.
very interesting you should say that, because later on in the show I'm going to tell you why the man's best friend has always been thought to be a dog, right?
Yeah.
It's not anymore.
What is it now?
Man's best friend is a goat. No, it is. Honest to God.
Are you talking about whales now again?
No, I'm not talking about whales at all. Scientists have found out that the instincts of a goat are absolutely identical to dogs, and that for...
Well, if they're identical to dogs, then dogs are still man's best friend then.
No, goats are friendly.
Are
For
they?
10,000 years, we've ignored the aspect of the personality of the goat, which is more favourable than the dog.
I must say, I've eaten goat. It's very much more palatable than suggesting that you should eat a dog.
Oh, golly, I don't
What do you mean,
know.
oh, golly, you eat lamb, don't you?
Yeah,
Well,
but...
what's the difference?
Well, a goat could be your next pet, you see. You'd never have a sheep as a... You'd never have a lamb as a pet, would you?
Well, some people would have a lamb as a
Mary
pet.
had a little lamb. Do you remember that song?
I
you
do,
wrote
yes.
that?
Yeah, it was Paul McCartney.
Paul
wasn't it?
McCartney, that's
Well,
right.
He didn't really write it, did he?
In his early days of singledom.
Well, it was when you realised he didn't have much of a flair for lyrics. He used a nursery rhyme for the lyrics.
Well, hang on, mate. He wrote "Hey Jude." That wasn't a bad lyrical song, was it? Eh?
Well, it was all right, I suppose. The
Well,
music
it is
was better
all
than
right.
the
It's one of the
lyrics.
greatest songs ever written, you oaf.
Well, tell me the words of it.
Hey Jude,
Yeah.
don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Take a bad song
Yeah.
and make it better.
Tremendous.
Remember to let it under your skin.
Yeah.
Then you begin
Yeah.
to make it better.
No, it's not Bob Dylan, is it, really?
Hey Jude, don't be afraid.
You've already done that bit.
No,
You
that
had
was
any
the
sleep
first
today?
verse, wasn't it? Yeah, I've had plenty of sleep
Right.
today. Now then,
Tom
we should
says this.
Yes.
No, let me just interact with some of the listeners for a
Okay.
change instead of you, right?
Okay.
Tom says this. Think restarting the show is the best idea. Press Porky's reset button while you're at it. 20
Yes.
minutes wasted. Hashtag plank.
What do you mean wasted?
Duncan says,
very interesting
Jesus, that's
story."
15 minutes of my life I'll never get back. Just give a straight answer.
well-
Tomo says, has Porky had any sleep today?
Yes.
Matt says, Porky's like the Energizer Bunny. He just goes on and on and on and on.
Well.
And how about this? From Wasm, it says 15 minutes in, subject Wales. Porky rambles about unknown nationality of cab driver lost in country that is not Wales.
Well, that's right, but it was connected to the story. That was the only thing. I mean, listen, if I were you, I'd start learning Russian and getting used to the Russian way of life, because
Why?
the next big football competition is in Russia.
Well, the World Cup is there,
in
isn't
Mother
it?
Russia,
2018.
and I intend to be there, I tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
JH says this. Any chance of Porky repeating that story? I missed the end.
Oh, really? Yeah, well, I can start from the beginning if you'd like. I suppose I better
No, I don't
not.
think you should. And Mark says,
yeah.
has Porky had any sleep? He's more barking mad than usual.
No, that's a bit harsh.
No, it's true, though.
I don't respond to those sort of things.
Are you going to be getting yourself accredited with your handlers then for the Russian escapades?
Well, I don't know what you mean by handlers. I do know people who have influence in that area of sort of visa application, all that kind of
Really?
stuff, because I've been there
Do
so
you have
many
to get
times.
a visa to go into Russia?
I would imagine you would. I would
What do you mean
imagine
you would
you
imagine so. You've been there.
Yes, but when I've been in the past, it's been under different political situations. You needed one, obviously, when they were still the communist bloc, but actually you didn't need one in the early years of liberation, so to speak. You know, after the Berlin...
Perestroika.
Yeah, perestroika and all that. Didn't need one
Well,
at
do you
all.
need one now?
You do need one now.
Are you sure?
Yeah. The biggest difficulty in going in and out of Russia, and particularly Belarus, actually. Belarus is...
Presumably that guy that takes you back from the airport.
Yeah, well, that's him, yeah, who has the mental breakdown.
Yeah.
But there's only one, like, Stalinist part of the Russian Empire left, and that's Belarus, okay? But it's the only place where the KGB still exists.
Really?
And the difficulty there
Well, they've
is...
just renamed the KGB something else, haven't they? They still exist all over the place.
yeah,
I mean, they're in London.
Yeah, they are, yeah.
They're in Washington.
Yeah, absolutely right.
So they do exist
Yeah.
outside of Russia.
But
then.
but on the streets, what I'm saying is, in Belarus, what happened was, first of all, you need a visa to get in, but then you have to go to the Ministry of Labour and get a visa to be able to work during the day in Belarus.
All right.
Not only
even
that,
if you're a visiting hack.
even if you're visiting hack.
Yeah.
Not only that, but the equipment was all compounded on arrival. And we were
You mean impounded?
Impounded in a compound.
In a
That's what I
compound,
meent.
right.
Impounded in a compound.
As opposed to compounded
And I
in
tell you
impound.
what, it was impounded in a compound. And And we were taken to this very, very sinister building.
Sinister.
In the middle of nowhere. I thought I was going to get a bullet in the back of my head.
Yeah.
Because these guys in leather coats, I'm not joking, they said, if it has your equipment and you must come and identify it. Right.
Were these members of the FSB?
I think so, yeah. So we said, what's that for? So the van turns up, get into the van,
Right.
and then he drove us for like 10 minutes to this remote building. I'm not joking. Right on the edge of the airfield. And we went into this warehouse.
The airfield? You mean the airport?
Well, it was more like an airfield. It's Belarus, It wasn't an international airport like, John F. Kennedy or anything. Cardiff, yeah, that's right, or Bristol.
Yeah.
And then we had to identify all our equipment. We didn't get out until like 6 hours after we landed.
Right.
And then, even then...
Did you have to pay like a fee to enter the country?
Of course, you had to pay all sorts of taxes. And even then, we didn't leave with our equipment.
Belarus airport is in Minsk, I'm being told.
In Minsk, that's right, yeah.
Is that where you were?
That's where we were. Matt, the guy who was on this torturous journey with me, had to go back and get it all the next morning.
He knows a lot of people in that part of the world, doesn't he?
Well, I'm not sure he does, actually, but he knows quite a lot of people. Quite a lot of people know him now, unfortunately.
I think the Ukrainians are still
trying
chasing
to find
him
him.
for the last Euros on it.
That's right. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, we better not tell that story.
No, better not, no.
Anyway, coming up, we're going to be talking to Robert Earnshaw, who's been very, very positive throughout this on the whole Wales experience, and I'm sure that he'll be very proud of them. That's what Chris Coleman's been saying. But basically, Ronaldo sort of schooled Gareth Bale last night, didn't he?
Yes, he did, yes. I thought Ronaldo was outstanding. And the most outstanding aspect of it, once again, was his heading.
Yeah.
People think he's a brilliant footballer. Nobody ever talks about the fact he's one of the greatest headers of the ball there's ever been.
Yeah.
The way he hangs in the air.
Yeah,
and
he's like a basketball player, isn't he? Hang time.
Yeah, exactly, and gets the elevation and the angle of his head to an absolutely perfect pitch. Because, quite frankly, the goalkeeper should have saved it, shouldn't he? It went just past his hand, but it was so powerful.
But it was a very powerful header.
That's what I was going to say. He put so much power in it. You see the way he uses his neck muscles on his to propel his head forward.
His neck muscles.
Yeah.
Well, you would. That's how you head the ball.
Well, exactly. That's what I'm saying. But
I can't imagine you were very good in the air when you were the midfield dynamo of Chester Grammar.
I remember when I was about 8 trying to head a ball that came down from a height, and it hit me right on the top of the cerebellum. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And God, I mean, I nearly died of
I got
shock.
a crick neck once when I did that.
Yeah.
When we played that game at Wembley, I told you about.
Right,
when the Express took on various other papers, and we actually won the competition.
Yes.
And I've got the video of it, and there's a bit where the ball comes in from a corner, and I go to head it.
Yeah.
And somehow, because I don't know if it wasn't warmed up or something, I just sort of cricked my neck.
Yeah, I know.
And I was sort of walking around like Lurch for the rest of the game.
Mine when I was about 8, and in those days the balls still had laces in them. They were big, heavy leather things. It was raining that day. And I misjudged where you're supposed to head it on your forehead, obviously. This thing dropped on the top of my cerebellum.
Well, did you have your eyes shut or something?
Yeah, I must have had my eyes shut, I think. Yeah. But like a lead weight.
Yeah.
And I felt I thought my skull had been fractured. It was so painful. It was unbelievable. I was staggering around in a daze and all that kind of stuff, So I wasn't a very good header of the ball. That's absolutely right.
Yes.
Spring-heeled Jack. That's what they used to call me.
Did they? I thought they used to call you Dead-Eyed Dick.
Dead-Eyed Dick. That's when I was playing darts.
Spring-heeled Jack. Somebody tweeted me a story which I didn't actually look at in great detail about foot darts. That's now a new game. Have you seen that?
No.
Where apparently I presume you kick the darts towards a massive dartboard. It's a bit like that football golf the game that they have
Sounds
now,
ridiculous.
where you go around a golf course kicking a ball.
Sounds
a great
ridiculous.
big massive hole that you have to get the ball into.
I'm aware of a game of darts which you can play now in some pubs in London and other big cities where you're playing somebody on the other side of the world. So your darts are not. They don't have a tip on them.
Oh, yeah.
They have a magnet.
Okay.
And so
so it registers on a computer.
Registers on a computer,
right.
which is shown on the board next to the shown on the screen next to the board.
Surely the whole point of darts is doing it in the same room.
Well, you'd have thought so. Well, you can play with people all over the world, That's the whole idea.
Of that?
Well, I suppose some of these people think it's quite novel to be playing somebody in Sydney, Australia, or something like that.
Okay. Sean has said this: as long as you have a ticket for the Russian World Cup 2018, you don't need a visa. Apparently.
Oh, is that right?
So presumably that works if you get accredited to go as well.
Well,
then you won't need a visa either.
Can I tell you, countries like Russia, they often change the rules the minute you land, and there is also, of course, the sort of the dollar tax. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, sir, you'll have your $100. Well, sorry, what's that for? It is for your entrance.
Well, I mean, a lot of countries
visa.
do that. Turkey do that. As soon as you go in, you've got to hand them a load of cash.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Right? And they don't take it in any other form.
A mate of mine went to somewhere like, Rhodesia or something once, and he was asked if he...
You mean Zimbabwe?
it might have even been Rhodesia, no, probably Zimbabwe. And he was asked, have you got the $100 entry tax? He said, we don't have to pay any entry tax. I've looked at the rules and regulations, mate. You're trying it on me, aren't you? He said, no, you have to pay $100 regulation entry tax. Oh, really? What happens if I don't? Well, we have to give you your inoculation, sir, because it's only a $100 regulation tax that proves that you've had your inoculation.
Yeah.
Oh, inoculation? What are you on about? And then they produce this filthy needle full of blood. You see what I mean? And they start... no, seriously. Then they roll his sleeve up and they... So that you then pay the $100
Well,
entry tax.
Mexico, they charge you to leave the country.
To leave the country, that's
now,
a good idea.
We're running out of time, as ever.
Right.
I think the show has now started properly, so there's no need to restart the show.
Yeah.
R. Stout says, give it a try, Mike Parry. He sent a picture of some curried goat and rice. How about that?
Oh, no, that's horrible. No,
Why?
because
Why is it horrible?
because as the show wears on, I'm going to tell you about the actual delights of keeping a goat as a domestic pet.
Okay, you get one on the old roof garden.
Yes.
This is Talk Sport. This is TalkSport. We are the two Mikes. It's Porky Vision coming up a little bit later on, of course. And tomorrow we've got the Porky quiz on the two presidents, Bush and Bush.
We have indeed.
Which is being compiled even as we speak.
It'll be like the Bush dynasty, if you see what I mean.
The Bush dynasty,
Yep.
exactly right.
Yep.
Well, we've got lots of names for the quiz, but we won't go into any of those at the moment.
Yeah.
Now, Johnny has tweeted me to say that he was the guy that told me about the foot darts, which is a new sport with 23-foot inflatable dartboard and Velcro footballs.
Sounds ridiculous.
Well, I think it sounds quite
Utterly
good fun.
ridiculous.
Well, I can show you a picture of it. Look.
Yeah, go on. It's just a gimmick.
There's a guy there. Look, you kick a ball out of dartboard. What's
rubbish.
wrong with that?
It's rubbish.
I think
That's
that's
nonsense.
I think that's
when
quite
people
good
try
fun.
to bring in new versions of old games. Oh, talking about that, by the way, have you ever played Cluedo?
Yeah, of course I've played Cluedo.
I've never played
Not only
Cluedo.
have I played it, I think I still own a copy of the board game.
Well, in that case, you'll have to change it because they've
Professor
got
Plum and all that.
no. You know what
Colonel
they've done?
Mustard.
You know what they've done? They've got rid of Mrs. White.
Why?
Mrs.
Well,
White.
Get rid of Mrs. White sort of every time you play.
No,
If she happens to be the
you
victim.
don't understand. She's been taken off the board
Why?
altogether. Mrs. White has been bumped off and not by a dastardly villain with a candlestick in the dining room. She's been done away with by the makers of Cluedo in favour of a younger character with model looks and exotic history.
Oh, hang on. Mrs. White was only just a little white peg.
No, Mrs.
I
White...
mean, there was no actual, small doll of her or anything. I only knew what Mrs. White looked like.
Mrs. White, who was the... Yeah, but don't you get cards in Cluedo as well with pictures of the characters on?
Maybe.
Yeah. Right, and she's got a big... Look, I'll show you a picture of a big sort of fat face and white
Yeah, see,
hat.
my copy... I'm not sure if my copy of it was like that. Yeah, she looks like a chef, doesn't she?
That's right, looks like a chef. Anyway, Mrs. White, who was the cook and housekeeper in the Tudor mansion at the centre of the murder
That's why
mystery...
she looks like a chef.
That's right, she looks like a chef. Was one of the board game's original characters, but it seems that after 70 years, this is ageism, under suspicion, the woman in the battered cook's hat is considered too old, too tired, and too dated.
Well, Professor Plum looks pretty old too.
And she's been... I don't know what he looks like. And she's been replaced by Dr. Orchid.
Dr. what?
Dr. Orchid.
Do you mean Dr. Orchid?
Orchid, that's right, yeah. The attractive adopted... Just calm down. The attractive adopted daughter of murder victim Dr. Black. Is he the murder victim? Is he Dr. Black?
Well, it's the murder victims tend to be different, don't they?
I know. Well, I've never played it. I was going to ask you.
Well, it's a long time since I played. I played as a child. I mean, did you never play board games as a child?
Yeah, but we used to play this thing called Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, but you've never been sorry since, have you?
Well...
It's obviously stained you for life.
No, but we've never played Cluedo. We used to play Pirates. Right?
Pirates?
Yeah, Pirates was a board game.
What game was that?
I don't know. Snakes and Ladders, I was...
Snakes and Ladders,
always used to play and that kind of stuff.
What about Monopoly?
No, never played that.
You've never played Monopoly?
No, didn't like that. No, didn't like that.
But it's all about money.
I know, it's all about
favourite
houses
subject.
and stuff as well,
Yeah, it's all about property and money.
To be honest, I don't like sitting around a table with a load of other people pretending I'm enjoying myself, giggling and laughing when the dice rolls out. I find it boring and rather... mundane.
It's because you can't roll the dice all the time. You have to wait your turn.
No, well...
You're completely self-absorbed.
There might be something in that. You might be right.
If it wasn't for Liam Gallagher, you'd be the most narcissistic man I've ever heard of.
That's very unfair. By the way, that's still going on, that row I had with Liam Gallagher. People keep retweeting the exchanges.
They keep discovering it.
What have you done with it? You've taken it and put it somewhere, haven't you?
What?
Didn't you take those exchanges and put them somewhere?
Well, we've discussed possibly posting them somewhere, yeah.
Oh,
but we
I
haven't
see.
done it yet.
Okay. Right, it's also transpired that after her expulsion, Dr. Orchid, educated at home by none other than the character she was desperate to replace, Mrs. White, who's now mysteriously disappeared.
So she's the adopted daughter of Dr. Black, is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's right, absolutely.
And is there a picture of her?
Yes, a picture of that young lady there.
Oh, okay.
See?
I see. So they haven't, rather what?
Rather attractive young lady.
Yeah, well, it's a cartoon, isn't it?
Well, of course it is, but so is the one she's playing, Mrs. White. Now,
so is that the only character they've changed?
Yes, the game's other characters. I bet you can't name them all.
Well, let's see. There was Professor Plum.
Yes.
Colonel Mustard.
Yes.
There was. Well, you've said there was somebody.
Mrs.
Green.
White.
There was Mrs. White. Somebody green.
I'm not sure about that.
Miss Scarlet.
There's the ones I've got.
Miss Scarlet. Hang on, I haven't finished yet.
Oh,
Miss
okay.
Scarlet. Well, are you ticking them off?
Yeah, go on.
All right. So how many have I got so far?
3.
That's not true.
3 plus Mrs. White is 4.
I said Mrs. White, Colonel Mustard, Professor Plum, Miss Scarlet, Dr. Black.
That's 5.
And somebody green.
That's Reverend Green.
Reverend Green.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's one more.
One more. Let's see. Would it be? Well, that's not bad if I got 6 out of 7.
It's not bad.
Plum. Did I say Plum?
You said Plum. Yeah, Professor Plum. Think of an exotic bird.
An exotic bird?
Yes.
What, like a parrot?
Well, no, more exotic than that, actually.
More exotic. Flamingo.
Well, you're getting close.
Pink. Something pink?
No, not necessarily. Peacock. Mrs.
Captain.
Peacock.
I was going to say Captain Peacock.
No, Captain Peacock was in Are You Being Served? Yeah, Mrs. Peacock.
Yeah, well, that's quite a good memory then.
That's pretty good, yeah.
So why have they only done away with one of them then? Because they're all quite old. I seem to remember the picture of Professor Plum. He's got like a grey moustache or something.
Hey, hang on. Jack Mustard.
Jack Mustard?
Yeah. Was he a character as well?
No. Colonel Mustard?
No. Hasbro, who are the makers of the game, previously released an edition of the game which saw updated characters including Jack Mustard, a sports pundit, and Victor Plum, as opposed to Professor Plum.
So they've been changing them all over the years then?
A billionaire video game designer. No, just in the last couple of years.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, there you go.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yes.
Well, I'll read you some tweets in response.
Okay, that's great.
One from Steve, who says, sorry, was that for you, MG? And then here's one from Irish one, who says, Porky never got any games as a child, God bless him. That's why he's so bitter these days. Good God. People go along with this ridiculous portrayal of me that you keep expanding, that I was some sort of lonely and disturbed child. Well, you were. Look at this from Bill.
wasn't.
Porky didn't play board games, MG. He was boarded up in a coal cellar by his family. #problem child.
Oh, that's very nice, isn't it? There's no truth in that at all.
I think there is truth in it. You slept in the kitchen. Mark the Taxi says...
No, you slept in the kitchen. You've admitted it.
For someone who's earned a living by the written word, Parry's command of the English language orally is woeful.
No, it's not.
I think it is.
It's not. It's very good.
R. Stout says a goat is cheaper than a mower, and then you can eat it.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a horrible side of it. I'll tell you all about goats in a minute. They're very intelligent creatures, honestly.
I'm sure they are.
You will be fascinated by the things you don't know about a goat.
Steve says the
restarting... They can pull levers
show...
and open their own doors and all sorts of things.
What?
They can.
Pull levers?
Yeah, seriously.
We better not send them to Mission Control in Houston, then.
Well, that's right.
You asked me that question, didn't you?
In case they press a button or pull a lever, you're absolutely
Steve
right.
says the restarting of the show was the best thing to happen tonight. Sounded like mayhem going from Wales to Russia in a few minutes.
Well, I'm afraid it did. I'm afraid it did. You're absolutely right.
William says, in your old studio you had a dartboard. Have you moved it into the new studio? There's not enough room, actually.
No,
there's no room to put a dartboard in the studio. It's very small. When are we moving back into the other studio?
Well, I went and had a look, actually, earlier on today, and it is under construction, but it's a big job, I have to say.
Yeah.
You've got to remember, it's about 4 times the size of this studio we're in now.
Yeah.
Literally. You don't know how big it is, actually, until you see it without desks and things in it. It's very big.
Yeah.
And the control room itself is got so much complicated equipment going into it that...
Oh, they're putting new equipment in?
Well, yeah, because there's all sorts of wires sticking out the walls and all that kind of stuff.
So
good. New decks and all that kind of
Here's
stuff.
Here's one from Rob, who says, if Porky keeps his goat on the roof garden, he can graze on the tea bush and drink from the bird bath.
Well, that is very true. Indeed, the bird bath, that needs cleaning out, by the way.
How's the bird attraction scenario going?
Well, it's all been held up by the fact that my housekeeper is it's a blinking nuisance.
Oh, yeah, she said she wasn't very well.
She's got a trapped nerve in her back, so, she can only do things standing up, like the ironing and all that kind of stuff. She's not much good tending to the garden or
You
anything.
don't do things standing up. She
Sorry?
shouldn't even be working at all.
Well, but I mean, I need things ironing. Otherwise, I look scruffy like you. So
You look scruffy anyway.
No, I don't know.
And I do not. Actually, quite a few people remarked on the video that we put out yesterday,
Oh, yes.
before the game,
Yes.
where it said Mike Graham's wearing a very nice crisp white Ralph Lauren shirt.
Oh, you were,
and you're looking like a man from C&A.
Yeah, but the problem is, you just wear that shirt because you just gone out and bought it. You didn't have it washed and ironed.
No, I had
the
it
first
pressed.
time you bought it.
No, I bought it when I was in America, actually. And I've had it washed several times.
I'm sure.
And what I do is I take my shirts to the dry cleaners to get pressed.
Not sure I believe that.
I don't care whether you believe it.
Is that the one in which I hilariously impersonated a German?
Well, yes, indeed.
It was very good, wasn't it?
Yeah, it'll be available again later. But it was also the one in which you gave the Porky Jinx to Cardiff and Wales.
Well, I'm not sure it was, actually. I'm not sure it was. I think
you said Wales were going to win 2-0.
Yeah, did I? Okay.
Yeah, and you got the score right, as many people
wrong
said.
Team.
But basically, you got the wrong team winning.
Yeah, no, happy to accept that.
Yeah.
Now
are you going to jinx Germany tonight?
Well, that's very interesting. I was going to come round to talk to you about that, you see. Germany had -4 very strong players, aren't they? Their squad has been depleted.
Well, they're going to do without Gomez, aren't they?
Yeah, that's right.
And they're going to do without Khedira.
Well, this is absolutely right.
Yeah.
And yet, I still believe that they will overcome France, even though France have the massive advantage of home territory. It's down in Marseille, isn't it?
I'm not sure.
It is, yes, down in Marseille. And I think you'll find that one of the reasons they play it there is that is the most fervent crowd that the French can whip up, you know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
And all that kind of stuff.
So that's it then. So you've now just jinxed the German team. The world champions have been given the Porky Jinx.
No, I don't think so at all.
Well, you just said they're going to win.
Yeah, I think they will win.
Well, that's the Porky Jinx.
Well, it's not the Porky Jinx at all. It's a prediction, isn't it? I mean, again, you twist the truth all the time. 85% of my predictions are accurate and right.
Where'd you get that from?
I've looked at the predictions I made throughout last season.
Absolute
No,
rubbish.
it's not.
That is complete balderdash. How did you end up 4th from bottom in the Predictor League, then?
Well, that's not a very accurate reflection of what goes on, because that's only for a certain number of games.
No, those are the collective
number of games.
All the games in the Premier League over an entire season. I think that's probably the best measure. You came 4th from bottom.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure
So you're
about
crap at it, basically. Anyway, coming up next, we've got
like
Robert
using
Earnshaw.
that sort of language.
Why not?
It's not nice.
Not nice? Not nice?
No.
Unbelievable. I'll just call you Plank, then. Robert Earnshaw's coming up next.
You're either a team player or you're not. You're either comfortable in being in a team environment and happy to work to a certain type of ethic, or be in a place with a bunch of people that enjoy being together, enjoy working hard, and enjoy putting themselves out there, knowing that they're not guaranteed anything, even if they do give of their best, but they just want to do it because they're doing it for their country. And you can't pretend that you're either like that or you're not. But that's not just at this tournament, I mean, everybody's seeing us now at this tournament, but we had a whole campaign to get through, to get here, where they were exactly the same, So all this, where we find ourselves now, it hasn't happened overnight, the players and the bonds that they have together, that togetherness, that's not just because we're having a great tournament. And it's easy now, isn't to say we've got good team spirit. Everybody's got good team spirit on a shiny day when you're winning, as always been the case for us. We've all that team spirit you see, that's real, but that came from the darker days where it wasn't so easy for us. And Balo, he's exactly the same as the rest of the players in that.
That's Chris Coleman, of course, talking after the game. The players supposedly are devastated, but we'll be talking to Robert Earnshaw about that in a moment.
Yeah, but they've got nothing to be ashamed about, though, have they?
Absolutely not. No. I mean, if you compare, for example, the Wales players' kind of state of mind with the England players' state of mind, I mean, there's no comparison at all. I mean, I think the trouble was, actually, you know what they suffered from? They suffered from that kind of thing called Englanditis. When they got through to the semi-final, they actually thought, we can win this. And despite the fact that Gareth Bale said, we're not thinking about the final, we're just thinking about getting past Portugal, because I would say it was their worst performance since the England game.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it was because Aaron Ramsey wasn't there.
Yeah, I think you're maybe right. I think we only realised how influential he was to the team when he wasn't there. You know what I mean?
Right.
In fact, funny enough, one great Premier League player once told me, sometimes you play your best football when you're not even on the pitch.
Yes.
I.e., it means that your absence is noted.
Yes, indeed. Let's talk to Rob Earnshaw.
Indeed.
Massive Wales fan, of course. Big player for Wales as well. Rob, very good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you guys?
Yeah, very
Hi,
well.
Rob. Very well, thank you.
Very well indeed. I mean, a disappointing game, obviously, a bit of a disappointing result, and Wales are out. But I mean, overall, a tremendous Euro campaign, really.
Oh, incredible. Do you know what? Every single one of that squad and team and stuff, they can be very proud of themselves because, they've exceeded all the expectation, and they've made people understand exactly where they're at as a team and how good they can be and how good they've been. It's because people forget it takes 2 years to qualify, and then you got to go to the major tournament and then produce and play well and do all those things. So they've really made everybody in Wales proud.
Yes, I'm sure they have, because if you look at, what Chris Coleman was saying after the game, they're going to build on this. The qualification games for the World Cup in Russia start in a couple of months' time, and they've got a great sort of stepping stone, I guess, if you like, towards that, haven't they?
Oh, huge. I mean, how much confidence now do you get from, reaching a semi-final of a major tournament, as a nation, and you know what? The other thing is they'll inspire the younger guys coming through too. The under 21s, and 18s, and 60. All those young kids coming through. Because gradually over the last 20 years, it's been the people like Mark Hughes and Rush and then it's like the gigs and speeds, and I was part of that generation as well. So it's been an inspiration all the way through, and then now it just gives a confidence to the rest, because the reason people like Bale and Ramsey and Ashley Williams, all these guys, is because they've the people who've come behind, and the people like the gigs and all of that who've come through and been great players and inspired them, and then they can be where they're at now. But listen, I think it's huge, because they can now. It's like it comes a point in your career where you have to understand. Okay, like when you do it at a major tournament, then it's like it's almost like everything's lifted off, the pressure's lifted off. It's like, all right, then what's the next challenge? And I think that's the biggest thing that they've kind of lifted off the nation.
Yeah, Rob, I think you're absolutely right. Rob, the question that I'm going to put to you, and it might send a shiver down your back, is, but you've got to be bluntly realistic about this. Will Chris Coleman now be poached by another area of football, i.e. a league club? Because I'm sure Chris Coleman will be very loyal to the Welsh team that he has served with such distinction, but there's no doubt about it, the world of football has suddenly sat up and taken note of this young man and what he's achieved at the Euros.
Listen, I'm honest. Of course he's going to be poached. Why not?
Yeah.
The reason you get poached is because you're doing something well. Whether it's managing, whether it's playing, and that's how it goes, and that's okay. People think it's a bad thing, or it's something that's kind of like you can't like talk about it or whatever, or you'll feel nervous about it, but you don't have to. Yeah. The reason is you will be poached for sure, 100%. And if he wasn't being poached, then it probably would mean he's not doing that well.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing.
Yeah, but does that not depend who's waiting in the wings behind him, though? Because it's not good for Wales if he gets poached, is it?
Oh, of course it's not. But, I think that's the thing. That's going to be his decision. It always comes down to his decision. The key thing is if he obviously, I believe that he'll be there, because I think he'll enjoy this tournament so much that I think he'll still be there, and he's a proud Welshman. So if he's not, I think you've got a great team there of players that will be there.
Yeah.
And sometimes, listen, you can't do anything about individual preferences. And, some people want to go different directions. Some people, whether it's a manager, they want to manage.
Sure.
They get offers or whatever. Okay, it happens.
Well, you can't blame anybody for wanting to improve their own position, can you? If they want to cash in on the fact that they've had an outstanding period of success, that's fine. But do you expect him to maybe have gone before the World Cup qualifiers start in September?
No, I don't think so. Like I said, I don't think he will actually go. I think obviously people will look at him and people will try and obviously tempt him or ask him the question, listen, do you want to would you like to manage our team or country or whatever it is? I think, of course, you'll have offers like that because that's what happens when you do well. But I don't think he will.
Okay.
I think he'll stay.
Okay.
And I guess what a lot of people would have, because I mean, watching the game last night, it was clear that that Wales were not quite on the button, if you like, and you wonder how much of that was due to the fact that Aaron Ramsey wasn't playing.
I think so, but that's easy to say. I think it's easy to say when people are missing, then you automatically just assume that. But of course, listen, I think he was a major miss. Yes. But also, I think we just didn't have the luck. I actually thought the game was so very even, and the key moments was, one little instance where you don't mark Ronaldo. That split second where you don't mark Ronaldo changes the game, and then the second goal was a bit freaky because you just kind of happen to be there and he pokes it. Sometimes they go straight to the keeper, go wide or whatever. It happened to go in the net, so it just changed things. So that was the only, I think, the biggest difference, because apart from that, actually, we threatened them. It just didn't happen, and I think that was the difference in the game. And that's what football is, little moments in the game that change the whole result.
And we wondered, actually, whether Gareth Bale would be able to sort of put the mockers on Ronaldo, if you like, because he'd be able to tell Wales precisely what, his tricks were, what the best ways to stop him were. But it seemed at times that Ronaldo may have done that to the Portuguese team and told them how to kind of how to shackle Gareth Bale, because Bale didn't have a great game.
Actually, he was. That's the thing. I think he's a great player, but I give him credit, you know what, because he was our biggest threat still. He kept going and kept going. It didn't happen for him, and games like that will happen, but he kept going and going, and he was our biggest threat, and that's what you want him to do. He's not going to be the difference maker every single game, but you want him to be your biggest threat during the game, and I actually thought he took it as soon as they scored, Portugal scored. He started almost like, okay, right, I need to make my team better. I need to make things happen. And he tried to. That's all you can ask for. Listen, Ronaldo hasn't done it for the whole tournament. So, if Bale doesn't do it for half a game or whatever, okay. If he's trying, that's the key thing.
Absolutely right.
And is there a sense, Rob, that, so much will now be expected of the Welsh team in the future, it's going to be very hard to live up to, isn't it?
Listen, of course it's going to be hard to live up to.
Yeah.
I think once you, I think position-wise of reaching a semi-final in a major tournament, that's going to be hard to live up to.
Yeah.
But I think they've got a formula there, and they've also got some really good talent, really good players that play well for the team. That I think they'll be good. I think they'll be all right because.
Yeah.
You can only add to that, and I think there'll also be players that come through and add to that. But they've got a nice formula that works, and I can't see it changing too much because the other thing is I can't see too much from other teams. I've seen so many teams that so-called huge or big traditional football nations that they're not as good anymore.
No.
They're beatable.
No, they're not. I mean, that's the surprising thing that Portugal, that's the other, but because of the fact that, we're all a bit sad that Wales have gone out, we're sort of missing the fact that it's a pretty big shock that Portugal are actually in the final.
Oh, listen, I've seen every game. I've seen them, even some of the qualifiers. I was completely shocked. That's why I had Wales as a favourite. If there was another game, another semi-final rerun, I actually think Wales would win because there's no way we would play not as well, and Portugal just happened to change it with one little moment in the game. I don't think it would happen. It's a complete shock because I actually think up until this game they were terrible. They're a disconnected team.
But there they are. They've somehow managed to do it. Rob, thanks very much indeed. Robert Earnshaw.
Thanks, Rob. Great to hear from you.
From the North American continent. Shame if you're a Wales fan, but a fantastic competition nonetheless. And I think if you're a Wales fan, you're going to be a lot happier than an England fan out there. This is TalkSport. We are the two Mikes. Coming up in the next hour, John Le Boutillier is going to join us, former US Congressman and author, of course. Knows an awful lot about the Republican Party under the Bush administration. He'll be telling us what he makes of the Chilcot inquiry and what the reaction is to it over in the US of A. Got a tweet here from Matt who says there should be a TalkSport version of Cluedo. Porky could be Professor Plank.
Hey, that's a bit harsh, isn't it?
And here's one from someone who's talking about your... Ashley says this: what a role model Liam Gallagher is to his children with language like that.
Yeah.
Disgraceful language.
I know, it's shocking, isn't it?
There's more of that on Facebook, on the Two Mics page if you want to see it. This is TalkSport. We are the Two Mics, and of course there will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. Steve says this: who are you trying to kid? Your shirts iron out as soon as you put them on. You only need a housekeeper to sew the buttons on.
Yeah.
That's what his view is of your scenario with the shirts.
No, that's,
Kev says,
that's crazy.
Thank the Lord Porky's called Germany tomorrow. I've got France in the sweep.
Oh, really? Well, I think you're going to be unlucky, mate. The Germans usually win when all the cards are down, and I think they will win this one despite the fact they're on French territory. Can I tell you about these goats before we go any further? Because
you had an obsession with goats.
Well, no, I'm way ahead of the game here. You see, in one of my journals called Biological Letters, I spotted this report.
Biological Letters?
Biological Letters, yeah.
Who's written that?
Who
publishes that?
It's a journal of science.
Oh yeah,
and it's compiled by researchers from Queen Mary University in London. And the reason is because I'm having a look through some of tomorrow morning's papers, and I'm way ahead of the game.
Are you?
Because look at this report: Move Over Rover, goats are man's new best friends. Right. That's written by a science editor of a prominent national newspaper. But I'm already on the case. And you see, what happens is I discovered that a team of scientists had demonstrated that goats can work out how to break into a sealed box using levers, which is a task used to gauge the intelligence in apes. Okay,
right?
They can even
What's
remember
in the box.
Well, food.
Food,
yeah.
Well, most animals can be trained to access food if you tell them how to do it.
No, not to open a plastic sandwich box made by those people who make plastic sandwich boxes.
The
what are they
Plastic
called?
Sandwich Box Company.
No, you idiot.
Tupperware.
That's the one, the Tupperware box.
Yeah.
So goats from the Buttercup Sanctuary in Kent, given clear plastic boxes containing food, and taught
they can't open Tupperware.
Yeah, they can.
No way.
They can.
I don't believe you.
They can.
They've got hooves.
No, they can open Tupperware.
You can't open Tupperware with a hoof.
They can, because they do. They bash it until the top comes off.
That's not opening it, is it?
It is opening it.
That is not opening it.
It is opening it.
Smashing it to pieces is not opening it.
They're not. They know at which angle to put pressure on the box so the lid springs off.
Really?
And that's very clever. No, I'm serious.
No, I don't believe you.
Here, I'm telling you, goats from the Buttercup Sanctuary in Kent were given clear plastic boxes, Tupperware boxes containing food, and taught that if they knocked them over at the right angle, the lids would come off and their treat would be released.
So they're knocking them over. They're not opening them.
They are. They're treading on them, honestly.
But that's not the same. You said they were using levers.
Yeah, they use levers as well. I mean,
what levers for what?
A lever is a scientific expression for exerting pressure. Do you see what I mean?
So they're not actually operating levers. They're
no.
They're not like in the kind of the signal box at the old Southern Railway.
It's not like they work on the production line at Vauxhalls and pull levers to make cars.
Was the impression
like that, you idiot.
That's the impression you were giving.
Now, did you know also goats were the first livestock species to be domesticated 10,000 years ago?
Yeah.
Did you also know...
They're good for, as somebody said, mowing the lawn. They're actually very good for keeping the lawn.
They are very good for that.
I actually thought about getting a goat at one point.
Really?
Yeah.
What, for where you live now?
Yeah, because...
to tidy up the field and everything?
To tidy up the garden. It's such a big
Why
garden.
don't you do that? Because I'm telling you now, they're great to have as a pet.
Because
your two boys would love their goats.
Yeah, but you can't really have a dog and a goat.
Unless you're
going to have some kind of massive menagerie.
No, you can, because they've actually got very same instincts. And one of the instincts they have is they both... Here, let me demonstrate. They both go... They have a pleading look.
My dog doesn't do that.
Yeah, your dog has a pleading look to human beings. Which is basically a help me look, you know what I mean?
I mean, I've seen a lot of goats, right? Because if you go to, there's a lot of these little, say, petting zoos, I used to take my kids to when they were younger.
Exactly, yeah, like goats, working farms.
Yeah, like working farms. So there's almost a lot of goats. I've never seen a goat's expression change.
No, it does.
I've never seen it happen.
Goats can assume a pleading expression which dogs use to communicate with humans.
Yeah.
You know, when a dog wants something, like, I want to go for a walk, or I want my bone, or something like that, they look at you with those doe-like eyes, don't they? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
Well, that's exactly what goats do.
Well, I've never seen a goat looking like that.
Goats
no, they
do.
Look, they look like a goat. They don't really have much different, as far as I can tell anyway,
they do.
Outward emotions.
Here, the conclusion from one of these scientists is that you can't work with a sheep on its own. Sheep are too stupid. People think that goats are the same, but they are very different animals. Anyone who's ever worked with both animals can tell you that. From our earlier research, we already know that goats are smarter than their reputation suggests.
Have you seen those goats in the Atlas Mountains over in North Africa who climb trees?
Oh, they climb trees. I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah,
because that's where the vegetation is they can eat.
That's right.
Yeah, that's pretty smart.
Goats are incredibly nimble. I mean, in Wales, in places like Snowdonia, we used to go there as a kid. In the back of your dad's car. Yeah. You used to see goats climbing up sheer cliffs and all sorts of things.
They do all that.
Yeah. And anyway, the scientist says we know that in some areas goats are as intelligent as dogs, but there's been a lot more work done on dog behaviour, and we're really just scratching the surface. Goats cost only. This is facts and figures about goats, in case you want to get one. This is to help you out, okay?
Yeah, okay.
A goat usually costs between £50 and £250.
Right, cheaper than a dog then.
Cheaper than a dog. Adopting a rescue dog is roughly the same, but pedigree puppies fetch much more,
They
which
do
you know.
indeed.
Right, the average lifespan of a goat is 12 years.
Okay.
Dogs live between 10 and 13 years, so it's about the same lifespan, okay?
Okay, right.
Goats,
and what do they say about whether they need a companion? Well, would you get one goat or several?
No, you wouldn't need several. One goat can exist on its own. Goats are curious animals. They can escape easily, so you need a 6-foot-high chain-link fence.
Right.
If you needed a compound for them.
That is one of the problems, isn't it? Because that's a big compound, that is.
It is a big compound,
fence around your house.
Well,
a prison.
No, that's only put in at night, isn't it? Like a kennel, you see what I mean?
No, but he might escape during the day, though.
No, during the day, you'd have it wandering around your field, chewing your grass and everything,
wouldn't it? That's what I'm saying, but it could escape.
No, it wouldn't escape. Where would it go? Where would it go?
Well, it would just go to the next field.
Yeah, well, you'd come back.
Or get on the road and walk up into the town.
Goats need hay.
And order some lunch.
No, don't be ridiculous, honestly. You're in the realms of fantasy. Goats need hay as bedding and to eat. Dogs have more expensive food tastes. Lifetime cost of a goat would be about £10,000 compared to between 16 and 30 for a dog. Do you realise you're spending between 16 and 30,000 on your dog?
It's not one of those things you think about, but I suppose you do. I mean, there's vets bills, there's food bills, there's all sorts of things, kenneling and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
So, I mean, I suppose that's entirely possible.
But don't get a female goat.
Why?
You'd have to milk it twice a day.
Really?
Seriously?
Well, I wouldn't want to do that.
No, you need a male goat.
Then you can make goat's cheese, which
well,
I'm rather partial to.
You get goat's milk and all that kind of stuff. Now, do you think we've got to get serious for a minute and talk about the Chilcot report?
Well, we're going to be talking to John Le Boutillier coming up at 5:30.
Oh, that's good.
I would suggest we get into that
before
a little bit later on.
Yeah, sure.
I wanted to draw your attention to another serious story, which we've been talking about actually for a while.
Yes.
But did you know that hundreds of rail services have now been officially axed by Southern Rail?
It's a disgrace.
Because they've now put out a new timetable because of all the problems they've had in the last few weeks and months because of the work to rule, cancellations, delays.
It's not a disgrace.
341 fewer daily services on the revised schedule, which is going to affect you coming in and out of Stockbroker Belt, Surrey, isn't it?
Well, the main line is down to your part of the world, Sussex, but it infringes.
Yeah, but it doesn't. It sort of goes down central Sussex.
It does.
It doesn't really go to Hastings that way.
It does. It impinges. It impinges on my area. But you won't believe it. What happened was the people running these railways, both the managers and the union bosses, were called to Parliament to give evidence because the situation's so bad.
Yeah.
Managers told the Commons Transport Committee that the Rail Maritime and Transport Union had created extra chaos for passengers by encouraging its members to stage sicky strikes. This is what I was told the other night.
That's right.
That it's not an official strike, it's not an unofficial strike, it's ringing in sick, okay?
Right.
Now, the RMT's Mick Cash, who was with the South East organiser Paul Cox, denied it was responsible, saying our members are not taking informal action through sick leave. There has been an increase in levels of stress.
Yes.
Tory MP Hugh Merridam, who commutes every day...
It's all a game, this, isn't it?
It's all a game. Tory MP Hugh Merriman, who commutes every day from Crowborough in East Sussex. That's not far from you, is it?
Well, it's a bit further over than where I am, but not far.
OK, well, he comes from Crowborough to East Sussex to Westminster, launched a withering attack on the unions. He brought out and waved around his £4,000 Southern season ticket, OK? Yeah. It's £80 a week.
Right.
Yeah. And he said, I'm both a constituency MP for Southern Pastures and I'm a daily commuter, so I wear my badge with some horror. It's unbearable for us all. It's causing absolute misery.
And £4,000 a year for that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to somebody the other day who's in the in our business, and they were trying to book a guest who was coming in from that part of the world.
Right.
And they rang up and said, "Oh, terribly sorry, I can't get in. There's no trains.
No trains.
There is literally no way to get from where I am in somewhere like Tunbridge to London. There's nothing going on."
I thought we were the 5th biggest economy in the world.
Well, you were. In fact, I think we were taken over by Brazil, so I think we moved down to 6th.
Brazil's gone way back.
That may now
Brazil's
gone back.
receded.
But we
can't even run a
5th or
decent
6th.
train service. It's a damn disgrace.
It is ridiculous, isn't it? Absolutely horrific. Anyway, we're out of time once more. However, lots more tweets to read out.
Yeah.
You can tweet us, of course, at the 2 Mics. Here's one from Bill, who says, "Goats opening Tupperware at the Buttercup Sanctuary, Porky.
Yeah.
Are you taking Red Bull intravenously tonight?
No.
You maniac.
No, it's true.
This is Talk Sport.
Today you and I are not the same. You say you like the sun, I like the rain. So before we go, do it all again. You better catch your own train."
This is Talk Sport. We are the 2 Mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. There's so many stories that we have to get through this evening.
Yes.
We shall try and get through a few of them now.
Yeah,
if
well,
Porky stopped spending money on lottery tickets, he could use the £10,000 to feed a goat if he got one, says Ashley.
That's not a bad idea, actually. I mean, I would like to get closer to nature. It's just that the very essence of my existence does not include owning a field.
Well, why don't you buy a house with a big garden?
I've had houses in the past, and it's just too much trouble.
But you've only ever owned houses that have been in these kind of rather what you would call jumped-up bourgeois cul-de-sac type places, haven't you? You've never actually owned a house.
I don't know what a jumped-up bourgeois type cul-de-sac is.
Let me explain it to you. Any house that I've ever seen that you've owned has always been in one of these developments, isn't it? You've never actually owned a house that's been, set on its own somewhere in the country.
Well, I like new houses because new houses work, and old houses usually have leaky roofs and need a new boiler.
So that's the reason.
Got to
so
do
you
the
have
electrics.
no romance in your soul at all.
Well, I think it's quite romantic to have a brand new house. I love the smell of
paint. Well, not if it's exactly the same as all the 50 other houses.
Love the smell of new carpet.
But not if it's exactly the same as all the 50 houses around you.
Why not?
Well, because it's not unique.
Rubbish.
Is it?
It's uniform and it's good.
Oh, so you just like having the same things as everybody else?
No, I don't like having the same things as everybody else. I like having a good house. And good houses are new houses because they're built with modern,
so
bricks and all that kind of stuff.
You don't like old houses, in other words?
Not really. I don't really like old houses, no, because they tend to be drafty and leak and the floorboards creak and all that kind of stuff.
Really?
I'm not interested.
No, you have no kind of creative juices, really.
I do.
No, you don't. You want to live in a sort of sealed unit. You only want to live in a flat or a brand new house that's in part of an estate.
That is absolute
rubbish.
rubbish.
I just don't understand you at all.
Listen, just talking about them trains, by the way, I got another report in from one of my other journals.
Them trains?
Yes, the trains.
Those
trains. The trains that don't run.
Yeah.
Rising numbers of commuters will travel by car over the next 25 years.
Oh, that's good. Well, that'll be good for the roads then, won't it?
As fewer journeys are made by foot, bicycle, bus and train. This is an official report, and a lot of it is because public transport's become so unreliable.
Yeah, it'll become like America.
Yeah.
But the trouble is, because we don't have the road system that America has, and we don't have the ability to carry as many cars on each road as they have.
Yes,
it'll become the whole country will now be gridlocked.
That's right.
I was in the centre of London today. And literally around Covent Garden, right, there was a series of traffic jams that just went on forever, and a bus or two kept coming around. And these massive new big, what they call green buses, but single-decker, red-green bus. Yes. When I say red, it's coloured red, but it says it's green. Yeah. There was never anyone on it. No. And this bus would come round. Do you know that bit with Covent Garden where you come up past sort of Drury Lane Theatre?
Yes, I do, yeah.
Just before the Piazza.
Yeah.
Huge bus. And about 3 times an hour, an empty bus would come round. Yeah, no. And it would sit there with the engine pumping out because, of course, you couldn't go anywhere.
Yesterday, I was working in just the other side of Tower Bridge, right? So that's kind of East London. Yeah. And I had to get to a meeting in Soho. Yeah. And madly, I don't know why I did this, I jumped into a cab. Yeah. I came out of a studio and I couldn't be bothered to walk the 300 or 400 yards to the tube. Yeah. So I thought I'd jump into a cab. Yeah. I must have been mad. An hour later, I got out in Soho. And on the tube, it
would have taken you 25 minutes, maybe.
No, 15, 20 minutes. Yeah. 20 minutes, I reckon. And I don't know why I did it, but the traffic congestion on the way over was terrible. But listen to this, because what Boris Johnson left us from his legacy of the Mayor of London were all these cycle lanes all over the place, which have their own sets of traffic lights, by the way, which cut across roads and stop traffic.
And stop signs,
even when there hasn't been a bike on them for hours and hours and hours. I'm not joking.
Do you know, actually, at Stamford Street now, and I was coming in tonight because I took a different route in just for a bit of variety
Yes.
and got terribly caught up in traffic. But as you cross now Blackfriars Road, which is full of cycle lanes and all the rest of it,
Right, sorry.
there's another red light. So when you come through the red light, which only goes green for 10 seconds,
That's right.
you get across the road, and instead of actually being able to then go through and down Stamford Street,
That's right.
there's another red light that stops you there.
Because of a cycle lane.
I don't know why.
No, isn't it a pedestrian crossing?
It must
isn't
be, yeah.
I think it's a pedestrian
it's a
crossing.
really stupid place to have it.
Anyway, listen to this. The Department for Transport published estimates of the number of different trips made between 2015 and 2040. It's a projection, OK? In response to a parliamentary question. It showed that people across Britain made an average of 22.1 cycle journeys in 2015, but that by 2040 this will have dropped to 20.5.
Right.
Cycle journeys are going down, not up. And yet we're building cycle lanes all over the place in every city
what does that tell you?
in this country.
Well, why are they going down if there's more availability to actually cycle safely?
Because people don't want to ride on bikes.
Because it's too dangerous.
Because it's too dangerous. Because it was a fad. You know, it was all trendy to have a bike and to dress up in lycra,
when you expect
cycle
them-
around
when
and
you
being,
expect
grabbing the moral high ground. And now people have realised it's completely impractical.
But when you expect that because the Tour de France is on, there'd be more of these people out there in the old lycra because they look at it on TV and go, that's going to inspire me.
but-
Like during Wimbledon, you get loads more people playing tennis.
Yeah, but they're talking about a projection over 25 years, not 25 days when Wimbledon's on.
So
you know
they're
what I
saying
mean?
that they will go down, not that they have.
No, they will go down. They're saying that they will go down.
Right.
I mean, the point is...
Well, they might get that wrong, though, mightn't
You know, all these trendy, metropolitan types who think that they're saving the earth or they think that people will thank them for saving the earth because they're riding around in lycra on their bikes. They arrive at work and they're soaking wet because they're perspiring, because they're unfit and unhealthy and shouldn't be riding bikes in the first place. They've got to park the bike somewhere. They're probably knackered at the end of a day's work and think, I can't be bothered, I'm leaving the bike here and get a taxi home. It's just a fad. It's just a passing phase. Nobody really wants to ride a bike to work.
Well, that's not true.
No,
I think more people would if they made it more pedestrianised and they made it safer. But they're going to have to do something
Do you know
about...
the sort of people who ride bikes to work?
Well, lots of people ride bikes to
No,
work.
do you know one
Lots
in
of people-
particular?
Lots of people ride bikes to work here at Talk Sport.
Well, in particular?
Who?
Jon Snow.
Who?
Jon Snow.
Jon Snow rides
He
a bike?
rides a bike
What's
to
wrong
work.
with Jon Snow? Just because you don't like him because he once snubbed you
No.
when you were doing a story with him?
No.
That's why you don't like Jon Snow.
No,
It's entirely personal with
because
you.
he is absolutely typical of the trendy metropolitan elite who think
Do you not
they're-
regard yourself as one of the trendy metropolitan elite?
Definitely
then?
not.
Really? What do you regard yourself as part of?
Me?
Yeah. What's wrong with
Successful.
your eyes?
Successful. I've got hay fever.
You've got hay fever?
Yeah, I keep rubbing my eyes, yeah.
All right.
I need
How
to
was
get-
the shampoo tonight? Because we never explored that last night. You said that was why you were rubbing your or dabbing your brow last night.
No, it's fine. Except the shampoo bottle doesn't work because I can't get all the shampoo out of it, and I've got a theory about that.
What do you mean you can't get it out of it?
I want somebody to invent a new one, but I've got a
Why don't you
master
turn
plan.
it upside down, right? When you're not using it, right? Leave the cap on.
It still doesn't work.
Yeah, it will. And
No,
then
it doesn't.
When you go to use it, all of the shampoo will be congealed at the bottom.
Well, you think so, but it won't.
Well,
do you know
well,
why?
I don't think so,
because
because
it's
that's
made
what I
of
do.
plastic.
Yeah.
The effect of the shampoo inside means that there's still a film of shampoo clinging to the plastic through
but
the
it all
chemical
comes-
reaction.
Yeah, but it all comes down to the bottom
No.
of the lid.
I've seen one of my.
Yeah, it does.
No, honestly, I've seen one of my scientific journals in which they're going to invent a new shampoo bottle that's got dimples on the inside, not the outside, the inside, so that it actually manages to expel every last drop of shampoo.
What you're basically saying
Save
is
your
that-
money.
What you're basically saying is that you're upset because you can't get the last drop of
Yeah, I am.
shampoo.
Yes.
Why don't you just buy a new one? You got plenty of money.
Well, I don't like waste. I hate waste. My mother taught me
You
that.
don't like waste?
My mother was brought up after the Second World War, right? We never
well,
wasted
it's not
anything.
Second World War anymore.
We didn't waste any potato peelings.
Really?
No.
What did you do with them? Make them into a hat?
No. What?
Did you make them into a hat?
You idiot. No.
What did you do with potato
Put them in
peelings?
soup. Just put them in soup, yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. What do you mean?
Dear God.
Potato? What don't? Have you
You're
never
some
had?
kind of Russian peasant?
Hang on. Have you never had potato skins in a trendy sort of?
I'm not a big fan of potato skins, but that's different. That's baked potato. isn't it?
Trendy. What's it called?
Well, not in a trendy. No, you don't get potato
Bar.
skins in a trendy bar.
What do they call these bars? The trendy ones?
Well,
retro bars are they?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I can't remember
I have
what
no
they're
idea
called.
what you're talking about.
You know these pubs.
You get potato skins in what you might call sort of, what I would describe as kind of fast food type places.
No.
You do.
You get skins, right? That's
I
what they're
don't
called.
eat potato skins.
Well, I do.
Well, where have you been where you get them? And I can guarantee you that it's not trendy.
There is a place down in Stockbroker Belt which is a very classy place,
Really?
very classy
Very
joint.
classy, but you
And
can't remember the name of it. Toby Carvery.
No, it's not Toby Carvery.
Weatherspoons.
No, it's not Weatherspoons.
I bet you can get them in Weatherspoons.
No, you can't.
Really?
And you get them as a starter, and for my main dish, I have Strogo, beef stroganoff.
Beef stroganoff?
Yeah.
What is this, some kind of 70s sort of
No.
throwback?
No, it's gastro. That's the word I was looking for. It's a gastro pub. Yeah.
No, but that's not trendy.
Of course
There's
it
nothing
is.
in Surrey that's trendy.
Of course it
Forget
is.
about it. You don't know what you're talking
Oh,
about.
where do you think trendy is,
Well,
then?
trendy is in London,
In
right?
Camden. In Camden Town.
Camden is trendy.
Rubbish.
Yeah, it is.
We went to Camden and did a show there. It's like a pit.
Yeah, it's
not trendy.
It's a very up-and-coming area.
Up-and-coming. It's full of filth.
Yeah, it is full of filth.
Yeah,
It was
exactly.
particularly full of filth when you were there.
It wasn't.
Anyway, we got lots more important stuff to talk about. I'll give you another lesson in trendy stuff, trendiness in a little while. John Le Boutillier is going to join us to talk about the Chilcot inquiry. This is TalkSport.
Yeah. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Yeah. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Say it again, y'all.
This is TalkSport. We are the two mics, and of course, one of the massive stories of the day yesterday, which will reverberate, no doubt, for many days and weeks to come, was the publication of the Chilcot report, finally produced. Many years after it was meant to have been produced, 10 million or so pounds later, lots and lots of expectations of what was going to be said this morning. We've got much coverage of it on the papers, on the front pages. Blair's private war, Blair's vow to Bush 8 months before the Iraq war, legal case far from satisfactory, and the family's calling for the ex-Prime Minister to be prosecuted. The Daily Mail goes further, saying that Tony Blair is a monster of delusion. For 2 hours, Blair dissembled and denied in the face of Chilcot's devastating verdict. Then, with sickening egomania, he declared, "I can't say sorry for Iraq. I would do it again." Let's talk to our friend John Le Boutillier over in the United States of America to get the view from his side of the pond. John, a very good morning to you.
Good morning to you two guys. This is a extremely important report over here, too. Now, it's not getting as much attention yet, but it will get some. It has been reported in the print press, not as much on TV. But this war that Bush and Blair cooked up, and the way, remember that line about fixing the intelligence? And then over here, the term that was used was that Cheney went over and cherry-picked the intelligence that justified an invasion and ignored the evidence that was contrary to that. The result of this was thousands of American soldiers dead and hundreds, I believe, of British soldiers dead.
Well, this is the interesting thing, John, isn't it?
100,000 Iraqis dead. You know?
Well, this is the interesting thing to me, John, because many more American soldiers died than British soldiers died. I mean, the families here have been very vociferous about wanting, Blair prosecuted. There's lots of, what I regard as rather stupid allegations being made that he's some kind of war criminal, and so is Bush, and that they should somehow be prosecuted in The Hague, in the War Crimes Tribunals, and all of that. But I mean, I'm assuming that in the United States. The sort of appetite for doing anything like this again is the same as it is here. They don't want to.
Or you mean about doing another war in the Middle East?
Another war, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think there's no appetite for it. And ironically, now you have Trump versus Hillary. Trump was always against the war. And in the primaries, you remember at one of the debates, he went after George W. Bush with Jeb Bush standing right there, saying that I was always against it and it was a huge mistake. Hillary voted for the war. It's cost her a lot in the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
And by the way, it doesn't come up enough. When she voted for it, this is called the Authorization for the Use of Force in Iraq. This is in the October 2002. And right before our congressional midterm elections. And the Bush administration had a file of intelligence available for members of Congress to read before they voted. And of course, it was to justify the war. And she never read it.
Right.
And voted with Bush. She voted yes to go in.
Yeah.
And admitted years later, I never read the file, which, by the way, to me is a disqualifier to be president.
Well,
You're going to send men and women into battle without reading the intelligence that justifies that?
Exactly.
Crazy.
Exactly. John, I was very suspicious of the relationship between our Prime Minister, Tony Blair, and your President, President Bush, from a very, very early days. In the immediate aftermath of 9/11 in 2001, Tony Blair suddenly pitched up in Washington, D.C. as the great friend and ally of America against, we'll fight terrorism with you, and sat in Congress and watched an address of both houses, and then stood up and got a round of, standing ovation, round of applause from all American politicians. Years later, or not that much later, the one picture that told me that Tony Blair was in this for his own benefit, to big himself up in the face of the world, I'm the second most important man in the world, was when he was strolling around President Bush's ranch in Texas with his hands in the pockets of his jeans, with a smug smile on his face, looking like the cat that got the cream, because he was number 2 in the world. Did you ever get that impression?
I did, and what I always thought was pathetic. Now, I happen to think George W. Bush is a pathetic example of humanity. I never took the guy seriously, and I'll tll you why. He was always a loser all his life.
Yeah, he was. He was a drunk at one time, wasn't he?
He failed at everything he did, never could live up to his father, and then sort of caught fire and got maybe elected in 2000. But the way he did it was he ran as the son of a former president, but not his father. He ran as the son of Reagan. He made himself into a cowboy. He had a ranch.
Yeah.
He wore cowboy boots. He talked like a cowboy. He tried to be the second coming of Ronald Reagan.
Right.
And I always thought at the time that Tony Blair wanted to be the second coming of Margaret Thatcher.
He did.
And have this buddy-buddy relationship with the Reagan American president thing, which Reagan and Margaret Thatcher were a dynamite pair. They changed the world.
Exactly.
And for the better. But
yeah, of course.
Blair and Bush changed it for the worse.
Of course they did.
But is there not, is there not some comfort, probably is the wrong word, but perspective to be found, John, from the circumstances that they found themselves in? It was 9/11, I read Bob Woodward's book, Bush at War, and clearly he was very much on the side of going after Saddam Hussein no matter what, and 9/11 kind of gave him the excuse to do it. But, Blair's kind of defence...
That doesn't explain why Tony Blair wanted it.
No, it doesn't. Blair's excuse basically is that, the whole world had changed because of 9/11, and basically he believed that if Saddam Hussein could arm in some way Al-Qaeda with weapons of mass destruction, it would be a very dangerous world indeed, and something had to be done. It's all very well looking back at it now and saying they shouldn't have thought like that, but at that time, people were very frightened, weren't they?
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt. And America was really scared, and America rallied to George W. Bush. He had a 89% or a 91% approval rating. It was unbelievable. You couldn't say a word against him for a year or two in this country after 9/11. And the country was united, and so was NATO in going into Afghanistan, where Al-Qaeda had launched the 9/11 raids from. But Bush had his own agenda of nailing Saddam, and when he lobbied members of Congress, he'd say, well, Saddam gassed the Kurds and he kills the Shia, and besides, he tried to kill my dad. And he took a personal vendetta and made national policy on it. That's Bush. I never understood why Tony Blair went along with that. That never made sense to me, other than he really wanted to be.
Yeah. Just to extend that point, John, he thought it was unfinished business that he had to sort out for his father, except that his father was so much brighter than him and realised that actually we did get Saddam Hussein out of Kuwait, we did push him back into his own country, and that's as far as we went, because if we went any further, we'd have, invented the chaos in the world, which his son then went on to invent years later by getting rid of Saddam Hussein. He wasn't bright enough, Bush Jr., to realise that dictators have to exist in the Middle East to hold tribal factions together.
Okay, well, we agree on that. But why did Tony Blair not see that?
Well, because Tony Blair was dumb as well. Tony Blair was just in this blaze of glory.
I think
I
you're-
am going
I
to
think
be.
you're doing him a
No,
disservice. No, I think you are.
I want to be President Bush's best friend. I want to be America's best friend. And I am certain, by the way, that Tony Blair had an eye to post-Prime Minister days. I'm saying that I think Tony Blair callously believed that by making himself popular, very, very popular with the American people, by siding with America, he would make himself the considerable fortune he has made when he was out of power. I believe that sincerely.
No, I think that's very unfair. And I think, because Blair's come out today and he's been talking about why he did what he did and when he made those decisions. And there's no doubt, and he hasn't defended it, that they obviously sexed up the dossiers that they come out, that when they saw the first dossier, it wasn't, strong enough on Saddam Hussein, so they changed all of that. But he says he honestly thought it was the right thing to do. And I'm just saying, John, and to you, Mike, as well, at that time, I think it's very disingenuous to say that any politician, whoever he may be, was only simply interested in making money out of the future of a conflict.
I believe
don't
that.
think, no,
I believe
well,
that.
I think that's wrong.
I
And
believe
and
that.
I think, well, you said that. But I would say this, John, that surely if he says that at the time he thought it was the right thing to do, what other possible reason could there be? I mean, we've had all the mad conspiracy theorists as well. But surely he did think it was the right thing to do.
Well, I guess. I don't know. But, I mean, when they're talking about, quote, fixing the intelligence, unquote, that meant they made up their mind to go get Saddam, and then they said, we'll fake the intelligence to justify it. And that, to me, that's just dishonest. I don't think that's the way to go. And the price for that, besides all the dead people, wounded people, amputated, brain injuries, all of that, the other ultimate price is this ISIS. This ISIS is the result of this.
It is,
and look what they're doing.
Yeah,
but can you say with any? But can you say with any certainty? But can you say with any certainty, or can anyone say with any certainty, what would have become of the Middle East had the war not happened? Had Saddam Hussein been left in charge?
I will tell you. Yes, I can. I will tell you right now. If we had not done the second Gulf War, here's what the result would be. Saddam stayed in power, and his main obsession was Iran.
That's right.
And Iran's main obsession was Saddam. And they drained each other. They blocked each other. There would not be Iran marauding around the Middle East as long as Saddam was right next to them, lobbing cruise missiles in there all the time.
That's right.
That is what has destabilized the Middle East and enhanced the Iranians out of control. And we can't stop it now.
What about Syria? I mean, Syria is a land where nobody is in any mood to do anything apart from President Putin, it would seem. And thousands of people are being killed there, hundreds of thousands of people. And if
wait a sec, Syria, Syria would not have happened either.
Exactly, Syria would still be stable.
None of this would have happened
because the insurgents came from
the Iranians had destabilized all of these areas, and none of it would have happened.
Okay.
Anybody, the father Bush understood it, Scowcroft, they all understood it.
Yeah.
They tried to tell George W. Bush not to do it.
Exactly.
But the attitude of George W. Bush was, I'm going to do everything the exact opposite of my father. So my father hated these conservatives. I will become a conservative. My father raised taxes. I will cut taxes. My father wouldn't take Saddam out. I'll go finish Saddam off.
Yeah.
And my father lost for re-election, and I will win re-election. And guess what? He did.
Yeah.
He got the full 8 years, and so he would argue that it worked. But when you see these poor guys with their brains blown out, their legs blown off, widows all over the place, that's not right.
There was another aspect to this as well, John, and you, Mike, and that is that Tony Blair wanted to win a war in the way that Mrs. Thatcher won the Falklands. He saw what the winning of the Falklands did for Mrs. Thatcher. It gave her a legacy.
You're not willing to give him any kind of credit for wanting to stop something bad happening in the world.
No, I'm not. And
I think that's ridiculous.
No, I've read a report, John, compiled by Sir Christopher Mayer, who was the ambassador from Great Britain to the United States, in which he says that President Bush actually gave Tony Blair the option to opt out of military involvement. He said to Blair, look, you're with me politically, that's great. I'm not sure we need the troops because we didn't have that many troops. And Tony Blair said, no, if we're going to come alongside you politically, we come alongside you militarily. I'm convinced Blair wanted to fight a war.
Yeah, well, could be,
There's also the small matter. There's also the small matter of the oil as well, because Iraq had nearly a tenth of the world's oil reserves when it was invaded, right? And to say that the Chilcot report,
we never got any of it.
Yeah, but the Chilcot report has not mentioned the fact that there was oil there. The Chilcot report has not mentioned several cabinet papers which have produced.
It wasn't a motive for invading,
which have produced evidence that after the war was finished, that various oil executives were installed. When you had the whole Halliburton situation going on, there's a lot more to this, I think, than meets the eye. But John, sadly, we are out of time. We'll have to come back to you and maybe talk in a few more days because
thanks, John.
There's obviously going to be an awful lot of things said about this. Lots of different views are coming along, but I just think you can't make it black and white, this issue, and I think it really and I've said it already.
I think it's a lot more simple than you're trying to make it, Mike.
No,
your complicated theories.
No, well, I don't think
Tony Blair was a megalomaniac in my view. He wanted to fight a war.
That is ridiculous.
And he was looking to post prime ministership and what the world was going to offer him then.
I think that's nonsense.
And by becoming very popular with the Americans, he saw that as a really good career option.
No, I think that's absolute nonsense.
Well, you might, but I don't.
Simplistic. Well, you can believe what you want.
And you can believe what you want.
And we can have a debate about it in a very reasonably measured way, if you like, or you can just shout at me. This is Talk Sport.
Where is my mind? Where is my mind? Where is my mind?
This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes. Coming up in the next hour, it is, of course, Porky Vision. I'm sure we'll be debating this subject of the Chilcot report for many, many hours and weeks to come. We'll do that some more in a moment. But first, we've got this to read out, and it comes from Adam. And he says, any chance of a shout-out? I'm 26 today. Love the show as ever. So would you like to wish Adam a happy birthday?
Yeah, where's he from?
He doesn't say where he's from.
OK, well, Adam, wherever you're from, my friend, 26 today. Have a great birthday and have a long, fulfilling and happy life. I hope it brings you riches. I hope it brings you personal fulfilment.
Yeah, that's enough.
I hope it brings you peace of mind.
OK, do you know who else's birthday is today?
I believe it's one of our colleagues.
It is indeed. The man that mans the fort downstairs, Brian, who's been here for quite some time now.
Excellent.
And he's a fine figure of a man. Makes sure that if there is any trouble down at the front door, nobody gets past him.
That's right.
And he's actually, I hope he won't mind me saying so, 69 today.
Well, that's he doesn't look anything like that.
Not a bad age to get to, is it?
Well,
think you'll ever get to that age?
Of course I'll get to that age. I mean, most people do these days, but still.
How many years have you got to go?
Still, it's irrelevant.
It's not irrelevant.
Well over a decade, and
so you're only 59?
No, I'm not saying that, am I? I'm not saying anything.
Well, you just said well over a decade.
Well, I'm saying about Brian, he's very fit and healthy for his age, and still. Is still a kind of easy rider. You see what I mean?
Easy rider.
Yeah.
Well, he goes on a motorbike, doesn't he?
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. Yeah.
Got a few tweets to read to you.
Right.
Here's one from the Time Traveller. He says, "Shocking MG attempting to justify and defend Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Really went down in my estimation after that interview.
Yes.
Great
good.
show, guys." Well, the thing is, the Time Traveller, if that is indeed your name, people have different views, and if some people go down in your estimation because they have particular views, then I feel sorry for you because the point is that there are lots of different interpretations of what happened, and if I happen to
I think it's quite clear, though, to be honest. I'm surprised that you've taken the view you have.
I don't think it's because I think the problem with the way that we now sort of interpret everything in life is that everybody's outraged about everything immediately, right?
Yeah.
The idea that Tony Blair is a war criminal, for example, is a ridiculous notion, right? Do you think that he should be tried in The Hague for war crimes?
That's not for me to decide, seriously.
That's sitting on the fence.
No, it's not sitting on the fence.
No, you can't get away with that.
I'm neither a politician nor a military man.
Okay.
That's for somebody else to decide. I do think that the 187 lives lost of British personnel, I think they were all men, I don't think there was a woman who was lost,
war is
the most terrible waste of life because we didn't need to be involved in a war invading Iraq. It was the most stupid war that's ever been called.
Yeah, but like I said, I mean, if you hadn't invaded Iraq, right, you don't know what would have happened.
Nobody
can say what would happen, right?
Well,
now, one of the guys that was in command of the soldiers at that time, Richard Kemp, who comes on this show quite regularly, has written a piece this morning in the Mirror in which he's justified what went on and said, that the amount of horrible kind of death and destruction that was going on in that region at the time could not have been left alone, right?
Well,
We're now left in a situation...
I'm sorry, but my view is that it's a different culture in the Middle East to Western Europe. And for us to interfere like that and decide how they should live their lives, because you remember another...
Yeah, but it wasn't about just...
It was, Mike. They changed... They moved the goalposts all the time.
You've already forgotten how you felt when 9/11 happened, right? When 9/11 happened, there was a very big change in the way that everybody felt around the world.
Yes, I know that.
Including the politicians, right?
I know that.
And they basically said, look, Al-Qaeda can come after us anywhere. It could be London, could be New York, and somebody in power, at that time it happens to be Bush and Blair, were given the task of doing something about it.
Academics...
But you couldn't just do nothing, could you?
You should have done nothing if what you did was so destructive as to change the world.
So you would have agreed with somebody who said we should have no retaliation whatsoever about this. We should do nothing at all.
I'd retaliate.
They've killed 3,000 people in 2 office blocks in New York City.
I'd have retaliated against the people who actually committed the crime. There was nobody in Saddam Hussein's empire who was any part of that crime. Saddam Hussein didn't even like Al-Qaeda. He kicked them out of his country because he thought that they were going to be competitive to him in running his own country. Right. Far from siding with Al-Qaeda, who were responsible for 9/11, Saddam Hussein had nothing to do with them.
That's right.
The war against Iraq was ridiculous.
It was ridiculous, but what I'm saying
that's
to you
what
is
I'm saying when you're trying to justify it. It was absolutely ludicrous.
No, that's wrong.
And it smashed the world to pieces.
No, I'm not trying
it's
to
why
justify.
we have millions of refugees.
We can have this conversation without shouting
millions
at each
of
other,
refugees now floating around in Europe as a result of the fact that the Middle East has been smashed up. The whole thing was an utter disaster.
It was an utter disaster, and that's what the Chilcot
done by
report,
mad people.
And that's what the Chilcot report says. But what I'm saying to you is that to characterise the people who got involved in organising it, like Tony Blair, to say that his only reason for doing it was self-aggrandizement,
well, that's my view.
Is very unfair.
Well, you might think it's unfair. I don't.
Well, I think that most politicians will have, a degree of self-interest going on. But, Tony Blair, for all of his faults and for all the terrible things that he is accused of doing, I don't think he did this particular thing just thinking of himself, because that would be ridiculous.
I think his self-aggrandizement was a huge part of it.
Yeah, well,
in my view.
I don't think so. Steve says this: Porky, you are bang on the money. MG, you're entitled to your opinion, but you are wrong. Blair knew exactly what he was doing. Well, how do you know that, Steve? That again is your opinion. So in the end, people will have their opinions. I mean, there are lots of people who think that Tony Blair is the devil incarnate. He's not. He was the Prime Minister of this country, and he did an awful lot of things which were good, and he made a massive mistake by getting involved in the Iraq War, as this has all proven, right? Chilcot report says the war was not justified, says Saddam posed no imminent threat.
Exactly.
But as I've said, it was impossible to know what would happen if nothing was done.
Mike, it wasn't, because the people who are observers on the Middle East said, listen, the region is stable at the moment. It's not nice stable.
The region's never been stable. It's never been stable.
It's not, well, it's a lot less stable now than it was before we invaded Iraq.
Really?
Of course it is. Millions of people have been killed.
Yeah.
Iran.
Millions of people were being killed every week, though.
No,
I mean, that's the point.
They weren't. Not millions of people were being killed every week.
But they were people...
Iran is running around the Middle East now. Syria, as a result of Iran going mad in the Middle East... Iran are only gone mad in the Middle East because Saddam Hussein is not there to curtail their excesses.
Yeah, but
the whole thing's a domino effect.
Yeah, but Saddam Hussein would not have been around forever. I mean, he might not have been around even if he was left to his own devices to run the country.
And you've forgotten, in the middle of all this, Libya, because that was another massive problem that emanated from the destruction of Iraq. Colonel Gaddafi was suddenly toppled because people saw a revolution.
Well, that's a different argument.
It's the same problem.
No, it's not. Because that all came from the Arab Spring, which was something else we could talk about, which was another problem which came later.
Triggered from the start by the same events.
Not
I'm
really.
telling you.
Not really.
I'm telling you.
But you and I will never agree on it, and lots of you have different views on it. You're more than welcome to tweet them in or call in if you wish.
I mean, just very quickly as well.
Two mics. Yeah, go on, hurry up.
There's a piece being written tomorrow morning. Forgive me if this is in poor taste, but I really do now question Tony Blair's sanity. They're actually saying that it was so mad what he did. Was he in his right mind at the time?
Well, I can't imagine why they would ask that question. But, as I say, this argument will go on for a very long time. This is Talk Sport with the two mics. Talk Sport, we are the two mics. Coming up in the next hour, of course, it will be time for Porky Vision. I suppose we'll explore more of this this particular thorny subject of Chilcot in the quiz tomorrow, which is on the two presidents Bush, right? Bush Junior and Bush Senior.
Yeah.
So I hope you've done plenty of research on that.
Oh yeah.
We've got the independent quizmasters fighting on.
I know it, mate. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Well, if you say so.
Yeah.
Can you give us any clues as to what's coming up on Porky Vision? What have you been watching?
Porky Vision.
Yeah.
I'm still just assessing it.
No, okay.
Assessing.
Yes.
Jolly
good.
Yeah,
well, I was telling you I started watching Peaky Blinders at the weekend.
Yes.
Right? I'm now in the rather ignominious situation where the mother of my children has now not waited for me to watch the other episodes with me.
Right.
And has like forged through series 2 already.
Is that right?
I got through the first 4 episodes of series 1.
Right.
And with the idea that I'd go back down there. Well, I think she's now through series 5. Episode 5.
Yeah.
Series 2.
1. Series 2.
Yeah.
Wow.
So she's way ahead of me.
Yeah.
This is what happens. Women do this, but
Yeah.
quite regularly. You say to them, right,
Yeah.
well, I was watching Breaking Bad.
Yes.
And you'd be like, all right, well, you catch up with what I've seen, and then you wait until the weekend and we'll watch them together. Doesn't happen. People just keep watching them.
These things happen, I'm afraid.
Shocking. Absolutely shocking. Now, what about the House of Cards scenario? When are you going to give me back my House of Cards CDs?
When I've watched them.
Well, when are you going to watch them?
Well, I tried to start watching it last weekend, but guess what happened?
What happened?
I suddenly remembered I had Spectre.
Spectre?
Yes.
Oh, you bought it?
Yes.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, so did you watch it?
Yes.
What did you make of it?
I can't remember much about it.
You can't remember much about it?
No, seriously, I can't.
Why?
Because it just went whoosh straight over my head. I
Really?
thought it was quite average.
Really?
Yeah, I really did.
Oh, okay.
I can't even remember the opening bit, and I can't...
There was a drink taken before you watched
Well,
it.
it was quite late, I have to say.
Yeah.
The only thing I can remember is an ejector seat in a car.
Okay. Yeah, well, it's the only thing I can remember as well. This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. There will be a podcast coming out, of course, as well. Jerry says this. Couldn't agree with you more, Porky. Spectre is the first movie in a decade. I left the theatre after 45 minutes. Terrible, boring and laborious.
Yeah, I can't even remember most of what was in it.
Yeah.
All I can remember is just endless sort of drivelly sort of dialogue, you know what I mean? But even the stunts weren't very spectacular, I didn't think. And
I think there were some pretty good stunts. And I think the thing is that since Daniel Craig's taken over the job, he's become this kind of sort of introverted, deep-thinking James Bond.
Yeah.
Which doesn't really work as well as some of the others,
it doesn't. It doesn't, honestly.
I wonder if they'll move away from that when they appoint whoever it is that's going to be the new one.
Yeah, what they do with James Bond is it's a bit like American politics,
Yeah.
When they get Jimmy Carter and he's a weak Democrat, they then go for a very strong sort of right-wing Republican.
Yeah.
And then when they've had 8 years of that, they then revert back to sort of Bill Clinton, you know what I mean?
Right.
And sway the other way. And I think it's the same with James Bond. They said, well, we had to make it less funny, less appealing, and more like old Jason Bourne, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And they've done that now in 5 films, and I think it's generally accepted now. A lot of the wit and humour that used to, be a product of James Bond films has been completely eradicated, and they need to bring some of that back.
And there's a new Bourne film coming out, I think,
There
within
is.
the next couple of weeks.
There is absolutely right.
Yeah.
I think Matt Damon went off and did all these other projects, like what's the name of the piano player guy?
The piano player guy. What, the piano player?
Yeah, no, with the candelabra on his piano.
Oh, Liberace.
Liberace. He went off and did all those sort of things.
Yeah.
Haven't turned out to be terribly successful, and now he's coming back. Listen, have you ever been to Kidlington?
Kidlington.
In Oxfordshire?
I don't think so.
No, neither have I.
What's it famous for?
Well, it's not famous for anything, and
Right.
that's the mystery, because all of a sudden, over the last sort of few weeks and months, coachloads of Chinese tourists have been turning up and getting out of coaches in Kidlington. And then swarming all over the village, because it's Britain's biggest village. It's 15,000 people, but it is defined as a village. And
is it in the Cotswolds or something?
It's not really in the Cotswolds. It's kind of north of Oxford. So
Okay.
it's just on the edge of the Cotswolds.
I'll tell you what, have you ever been to Oxford recently? I mean, that's one of the things. I mean, I haven't done it for a while, but I remember going there when I was living in Wiltshire.
Yes.
We decided to go for a day trip out to Oxford.
Yes.
Go and enjoy the town. And
Town of the
kids
rumbling
around.
spires.
Yeah, and all that,
Yeah.
The dreaming spires.
Dreaming spires.
Rather than they might be rumbling as well.
Yeah,
I
as
don't know.
well, yeah.
But, I mean, you can't park anywhere in Oxford, right?
No.
You drive through it, and it's double yellow lines everywhere.
That's right.
And there's absolutely nowhere to go apart from this car park, which is on the sort of outside of the town.
Right.
Which we drove around a couple of times inside thinking where we find a parking space.
Yeah.
Found this car park outside.
Yeah.
And there was a queue of something like 70 cars trying to get into this car park.
Yeah.
So we just gave up.
Right.
So it didn't go to Oxford at all.
There you go. In Kidlington, they drop all these Chinese tourists in the middle of the street, and then the tourists go off and they go into suburban streets, walk across people's gardens, peer through their windows, knock on their doors.
So somebody must have written about it or something.
Nobody speaks Chinese in Kidlington, and none of the visitors who've arrived so far from China speak any English.
Okay.
They can't even the guys driving the tourist buses are Chinese.
Yeah.
So they can't figure out what the Chinese people are doing there.
Is it not something to do with Inspector Morse?
They think it might be.
And where the sort of various locations have been used for that.
They think it might be. They say some residents suspect that their visitors have been told that it was a location for Inspector Morse, the 1980s series starring John Thor. But others think there could be a link to Harry Potter or even the Midsummer Murders.
Really?
But nobody knows.
Oh, right.
Nobody knows.
But I presume it must be people who are coming to the UK for a variety of reasons and being driven around various hotspots. There's probably other places they're going as well, right?
They just all appeared to come to Kidlington. There's a chap here called Michael Parsons, retired electrician. He says, I've never seen tourists in the area before, ever. I've no idea why they might be coming. They walk up and down the street. They don't seem to be doing any harm, but we don't know why they're here.
Well, I mean, should they not be welcoming the influx of money? Are they spending money there?
No, not really. They come for a few hours, walk around. Another resident, Netta Robinson, she's lived in the area for 50 years. She said, I've never seen them before. No. I don't think they really understand that the grasses that they're walking across to look through our windows are private gardens. They probably think it's public land. Yeah. But nobody's complaining, really. It's just peculiar.
It is quite strange, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at some facts on Kidlington here. The Church of England Parish Church of St Mary the Virgin dates from 1220. Yeah. But there's evidence of a church on the site since AD 1073. Yeah. So it's pretty old. Yeah. So I suppose that's one reason they might go there. Sporting-wise, there hasn't got much going on. Apparently it possessed a brass band continuously since 1892.
Well, there you go.
Well,
since
I don't think you would
1892.
go and see a brass band, would you?
No, you wouldn't really. There's a thought that these people might think it's a sort of model village because one woman was mowing her lawn when a Chinese couple approached and tried to grab the mower to see if they could have a go at mowing the lawn.
Really?
Yeah, so the feeling is that they might think that this is some sort of quaint English model town, you know what I mean? Yeah. Which you go and sort of immerse yourself in.
How very odd.
Yeah.
How very strange.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, no, I've never that's all kind of passed me by, really, to be honest.
But it is north of Oxford. Yeah. Now then, what I need to talk to you about is, now we've travelled a lot during our lives, okay?
We have.
Now, you travel, of course, with your family quite a lot.
I do.
Now, would you ever...
I used to travel a lot on my own as well.
Yeah, of course you travel a lot on your own, I know. But I'm talking about travelling maybe just you with the mother of your children, right?
Yeah.
Now, would you ever consider, because this apparently is a growing phenomenon which airlines are reporting, would you ever consider you travelling in club class but the mother of your children travelling in economy way down the plane behind you?
What, you mean with the kids? Or just...
No, on her own.
No, of course not.
I
told you that story that happened when I was married before. Yes. When we only had Emma at the time. Yes. My daughter, and we had got upgraded by American Airlines. Yes. And I was flying from London to New York. Got into the club class, seat, which was very nice. Yeah. Was given two glasses of champagne. Yeah. Emma was about 2, so she was sort of padding about.
Right. Yeah.
And suddenly this woman with a clipboard appeared and said, "I'm terribly sorry, Mr. Gray. There's been a bit of a mistake. We can't upgrade anyone with children." I said, "Well, I made it very clear at the time that we had a 2-year-old who's not requiring a seat. She can just sit with us." And she said, "Oh no, well, we just have a policy against it." So she said, "One of you can stay, but the other one will have to go back and take the child into goat class." Yeah. And I just thought, there's absolutely no way that could work. No. Because one, I wasn't going to do it and leave my wife up there, and I certainly couldn't have said to her, "Why don't you just take the child, take our daughter back and I'll stay up here." So we both went back.
You both went back, yeah. Well, here, I've got an example here. A lady called Tina Kumar, who's 30, lives in Wimbledon, which is just outside London. Her husband, Aaron, right, A-R-R-U-N, bit of an odd name. He's 38. He runs his own natural stone business. I'm not sure what a natural stone business is.
Yeah. Well, I suppose natural stone for floors, maybe?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe, or sculptures or something, I don't know. But anyway, now they travel together because she's part of the business, but he regularly travels in business class while she goes in the cheap seats at the back. She accepts this decision because she says her husband is the definition of a walking, talking workaholic, and he needs the space to work when they're flying.
Well, they're married, these two.
They're married.
Yeah.
Now, they've tried doing it together, and he just gets sort of, narky with her and starts saying, shut up, don't talk to me, I'm working, in a confined space. So actually, she's not that bothered by going into economy.
Well, I suppose if there was a situation, even if we were flying with the kids somewhere, and it was long haul, and there was sometimes, you know how sometimes there's a mess up on the seats or something.
Yes.
If they came and said to the mother of my kids, you know, we've got a seat up in business class, would you like to take it?
Yes.
If we were already on the plane, I'd probably go, yeah, okay, why don't you take it? That'd be fine.
Yeah, sure.
You know?
Sure. Well, this is also, it's financial. So she'll say, this lady says, I'll often accompany my husband on flights to long-haul destinations such as India and Brazil, because we'll sometimes have a holiday afterwards, but I'm always on my own in economy. Now, she's got a business designing kitchens and bathrooms and things, right?
Yeah.
So she says, the thing is, it's actually a financial situation as well. She said, on one flight, for instance, my husband's seat cost £3,600,
right.
but he gets all the space and the facilities to be able to work. Mine cost £600 for the economy ticket, and I was very happy to sit there. I'm only 5'3" tall, so I didn't need the extra space.
She's obviously a very sort of a generous-hearted woman, I would say.
But it's a very odd relationship, that, isn't it? OK, darling, you turn right, I turn left, and we get on the plane.
Well, it's a bit like you and I. I mean, say, for example, we do what we hope to do sometime in the next year or two, which is to go sort of intercontinental with the Two Mikes show, because we've had requests from the Middle East, funnily enough, from like Dubai, maybe Qatar. We've had requests from Australia, from New York, from Los Angeles, from, a lot of different countries in the world. If, for example, because we have to run our business in the way that we would wish to run it.
Yes.
But if you came to me and said, look, because of the way that I have to travel, I must go in business class, but you'll have to go in economy.
Yes.
I think I'd tell you to go and get stuffed.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I mean, why would you think I would impose that sort of segregational seating plan upon you?
Because you've always claimed that you don't fly economy.
Well, I don't.
But I would say to you, if it was a company situation, well, you'll have to stump up the extra money yourself then.
Well, I'd probably do that.
Yeah.
But then I'd have a conscience of you being...
You haven't got a conscience.
Stuck back in cattle class and me, flying in comfort,
no, you would love it.
Well, I'm not saying I'd love it. I'd bring you down half a bottle of champagne.
Love it, as Kevin Keegan would say.
Or something,
well,
you know what I mean?
I remember once flying, a bunch of us from Fleet Street had to fly out to Dubai.
Yes.
And the only publication, the only organisation in those days that still allowed people to fly club was the Mirror.
Right.
And everybody else was in goat class.
Yeah.
And they actually sent us back goat's cheese.
Who was flying up front?
Up front, it was Ramsey Smith.
Oh, right.
Who was still with the Mirror, and his photographer.
Oh, crikey.
But in the end, they were so bored that they actually came back and ended up staying at the back of the plane with us, where we drank the plane dry.
The other worst one is a former boss of ours used to put his children in economy while he and his wife were up front.
Yes. Well, it's strange the way that people do. Now, we have to do listography coming up shortly.
Yeah.
And we'll have a look at some of the suggestions that we've had over the course of the day. This is Talk Sport.
It's a wonderful night, you gotta take it from me. It's a wonderful night, come on and break it on down. It's a wonderful night, you gotta shake it from me.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mikes. Porky Vision coming up in a little while. Now, we've got lots and lots of good listography suggestions, right?
Yes.
So let's run through a few of them
yes,
here.
Three
heroes or people you looked up to who didn't live up to your expectations when you met them or grew up. 3 unsung heroes who were the true genius behind the front man or women. IG Noel to Liam. How about 3 favourite actors or actresses in TV or film? Top 3 tourist landmarks in the world, or top 3 London streets. Not bad. 3 predictions for next season's Premier League. 3 worst job interviews, either given or received.
Well, hang on. I quite like what was the 3 drinks, did you say?
No, 3 tourist landmarks.
3 tourist landmarks.
Or top 3 London streets.
Top 3 London streets, right.
Yeah.
I can think of I tell you what, that last one I quite like, the job interviews.
Job interviews.
So
it could either be interviews that you've done.
Yes.
Or that you were actually in charge of.
Or or failed.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I mean, it doesn't matter. Well, just either whether it was you or whether it was you interviewing somebody for a job.
Okay.
I suppose.
Okay, yeah.
That would be good.
Yeah, that would be good.
I suppose we could do that.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, all right, we'll do that a little bit later on then.
Yeah, okay.
So we'll do all about jobs. Thank you. Keep sending them in because we've obviously got a very big thirst for these things.
Yes.
So, we need an awful lot of them. Here's one from Junior. It says, hey, Porky and MG, shout out from Manly Beach in Sydney. Big following down under. Constantly hear bladderisation in bars. People are saying it all the time.
Excellent.
Which
is that right?
Brilliant, yeah.
That's great, yeah. We must get down there and do a show.
We
in
really
my view.
should, yeah. Dominic,
Yeah.
and New Zealand, of course, as well, where we got a lot of people there.
Yeah,
because we were told that, were we not, by John Norman when he came back.
That's right, yeah.
From the cricket.
He did, yeah.
Yeah.
He said people listen to us all the time.
Yeah.
That's absolutely right.
Dominic says American Airlines must have changed their policy. We had a screaming baby in business class on a red-eye from San Francisco to New York. Well, they haven't got a ban on children.
Yeah.
They've just got a ban on upgrading children. If you pay for the kid,
right, yeah,
if you pay for your seats, they can't stop you bringing a child in
No,
there.
they can't.
You know what I mean?
No, they can't.
So, here's one from Junior again. Defo 2 Mike show down under. You'd be surprised how many people follow you in Sydney. And Becky from New Zealand can even fly over.
Yeah. Well, Becky's our agent in New Zealand. She's going to find us a location there, I hope.
She certainly is.
Yeah.
Absolutely right.
Yes.
Now, we should remind everybody as well that we are in rugby a week on Saturday. It's not very far away now.
No, it's not.
Just over 7 days to go.
And delighted
it's
to
nearly
say
completely sold out, but there's still a few tickets left.
Nearly completely sold out. Few tickets left because it is, in fact, in the middle of the Rugby Festival.
The Rugby Cultural Festival.
Rugby Cultural Festival. Most of the shows we've done so far have been sort of one-off locations. For instance, in September, we're at Whitley Bay.
Yeah.
I'm delighted to say we've arranged some accommodation there at a top-notch hotel.
Oh, good, excellent.
And the sales there are very brisk as well.
Oh,
Whitley
good.
Bay, of course, being very close to Newcastle upon Tyne.
Yeah.
Newcastle.
Well, you've forgotten about the Edinburgh Festival, of course, haven't you?
Well, in between, I was going to say we've got the Edinburgh Festival, but that, again, to me, that is another sort of... what's the word I'm looking for? It's not a one-off show. The Whitley Bay one is a one-off show. The rugby is part of the cultural festival. The Edinburgh stuff we're doing is part of the Edinburgh Fringe.
It is.
So that is more of being part of something bigger than just a 2 mics spectacular. If you see what I mean?
Well, it is indeed. Yeah, it's going to be fascinating actually having you around the Edinburgh Festival because of course there'll be lots of people that you may or may wish to meet. There may be people that you've offended in the past.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, there were lots of lovey types up there.
Yeah.
Bill Burrows is probably going to be there as well.
Yeah.
There might well be the man who may not be named may be there as well.
Well, the biggest challenge, of course, is going to be to stay off the booze sufficiently to
that's
get
not a challenge for me.
Get up on stage sober at 11 o'clock on 3 consecutive nights and be able to make any sense of what you're trying to say to the audience, who themselves will almost certainly be in bladderation mode because they'll have been round all evening as well.
Well, that's right. Well, as I say,
Yes.
I mean, I'll be more than happy to sort of show you around some of the haunts that I used to go to, some of the great parts of Edinburgh and its environs to keep you away from bars.
Yes,
because you don't want to, you don't want to be turning up incapable, do you?
I would never turn up incapable. That's not the way I do things, you know.
No, okay.
Yeah,
Right.
just thought you should know that, okay?
Well, I do know that.
Now, I'll tell you what I was going to talk to you about.
Yeah, go on.
Do you ever handwrite letters anymore?
No.
I do.
Yeah, well, who'd you write them to?
Well, I write them to people who I want to say thank you to, usually.
Like who?
Oh, excuse me.
You feeling all right?
If I go into somebody's box, I've been invited in, I generally speak in, drop them a note and say thank you very much indeed.
You drop them a handwritten note.
A handwritten
Do you have
note.
headed note paper?
I have got headed note paper
What
at home.
does it say on it?
It gives my address of where I want them
But
to
does it have
think
your
it's
name
come
on
from.
it as well?
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't have my name and just my address.
So just your address?
Yes, that's right.
And how do you sign it?
Eh?
How do you sign it?
I sign it Mike Parry.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I would sign it.
Well, if you sign...
Porky.
Well, it depends. It
I
depends.
don't-
I don't know.
I-
Do you sign it best wishes? Do you sign it yours sincerely?
It depends.
Do you sign it yours faithfully?
It depends on my relationship with the person
Well,
I'm
that's what
writing
I'm
to.
saying.
But how do you think I'd sign it? Do you think I'd sign it as, Horatio Lord Nelson or something like that?
You might do.
Well,
I can imagine you sitting down at your little desk thinking, oh, I know, I'll pretend I'm Horatio Lord Nelson for the day and I'll send out a load of letters to the people that, think I'm not as important as I actually am.
You're becoming a bit of a weirdo. Now,
You think
the reason,
I'm a weirdo?
The reason I'm asking
That's
you
pretty
this...
rich coming from you.
The reason I'm asking you this is because there's a young lady called Charlotte Pearce, 24.
Yeah.
Right, she's from Worcestershire, went to university, got a degree, wondered what she should do then, and she set up a letter-writing agency.
Uh-huh.
She now employs 30 people
What, you
to
mean
write
she,
letters.
She writes letters on your
Yes,
behalf?
yes.
What, so you dictate it to her or something? You send her an email?
You send her an email.
Well, surely that defeats the object.
Well, I think it's brilliant, though. What a brilliant way to set up a business.
No, it's not.
What she does is she interviews people and asks them to write things out to see what their handwriting, what their handwriting is like.
Yeah.
Is it good enough to have been like Charles Dickens
Yes.
type?
Yeah, I mean, my
script?
handwriting is particularly bad.
Yeah, mine's
I would
not
say.
good. Mine's not good.
A bit like sort of doctors. Most journalists' handwriting is appalling.
Yes.
I mean, in fact, if I would say that if I was to write a lot of things down in my own handwriting, try and read them later,
yes,
I wouldn't be able to read what it said.
No, I totally agree.
Very scrawly.
Now, this young lady's brilliant. She graduated at the University of Southampton.
Yeah.
She's now set up her own company. She wrote the first batch of 50 letters herself with help from her cousin.
Right.
But she realised that her own handwriting wasn't great. She now employs more than 100 writers. How about that? throughout the UK who range from students to single mothers who want to get paid to write from home. She sends them an email with the letter, they write it.
I'm amazed there's enough people writing handwritten letters to make that paid.
Well, this is what I'm saying. There must be a demand for it out there, because it is. All letters are written with a fountain pen. I've still got a fountain pen.
Yeah, I don't think I have.
I've got 2 fountain pens.
Have you? Have you still got ink as well? Do you buy that Quink? Can you still buy those bottles of Quink
No,
ink?
you buy cartridges to, you undo the barrel of the pen, so to
cartridges
speak.
are sort of cheating, aren't they?
No, not really.
No, they are.
It's still pen. It's still ink pen. Right, so all letters are written with a fountain pen, and writers are given advice on how to create different strokes and learn the different scripts and characters. It's very scientific, this. She says...
what does she say?
Letters include small note cards and A4 pieces of paper. Each letter takes less than 15 minutes to write.
Yeah.
That's a long time to write a letter, 15 minutes, you know.
Well, not really.
It is, because what I normally
say,
do...
for example, you're writing a letter to somebody who's entertained you somewhere, right?
That's right.
So tell us what you would say exactly.
Okay.
Dear so-and-so.
Yeah, okay. Well, to start off with, it wouldn't be a full-page letter. It would be what I call a... the sort of compliment slip. You know what I mean?
Right.
The size of a compliment slip.
So
okay?
it wouldn't be an actual letter.
No, it wouldn't be a letter because it's a card about as big as this, right?
Oh, so is it like a hard card? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's a hard card. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it is a hard
So
card.
that's not really a letter, then, is it?
Well, it is because what I write on it, I'd write. Supposing it was you, okay? I'd write, "Dear Mike."
Yes.
I just wanted to drop you a note to thank you for your tremendous hospitality in your box at Goodison Park last Saturday.
Yeah.
It was a great day, wonderful result, compounded what, was a smashing get-together with old friends.
Yeah.
And I hope I can return the hospitality at some time in the future.
Yes.
Meanwhile, hope things continue to go well. Very best... Mike Porky Parry or something like that. You see what I mean?
Right.
No, that's quite nice, isn't it?
Well, it is quite nice.
Yeah,
Well,
but
that's
you
why-
wouldn't
but I
think of doing that.
Well, no, I asked you what you would do or how you would sign it, and you said best wishes, Mike Porky Parry. You said you wouldn't sign it, Mike Porky Parry.
If it, if it was a situation where I was known that you'd invited me because I came from Talk Sport, then I would put the Porky in.
Okay.
If it was a personal thing from long-standing relationship or something like that, it would just be Mike. You know what I mean?
No, I'd have to say that my formalities.
But you
in
never
these
do that,
matters,
do you?
No, because my formalities in these matters do not extend to that. What I would normally do is I would send a text to the guy, or something like that.
I think that's terribly impersonal.
Or I would send a present to him, like a bottle of something, or maybe some flowers, something like that.
Well, have you done that recently?
I sent some flowers to your sister. I think you.
You did. Yeah, but
after
we've been
stayed
entertained.
at her place.
We've been entertained a couple of times at White Hart Lane, haven't we?
Yeah, we have.
By our friend.
Yes.
His name.
Yeah, I don't have to give his name.
No, okay. I don't
think he wants to give his name.
And did you initiate?
Although we missed it last season, didn't we? Because we weren't here.
We weren't here, indeed. Where were we?
I can't remember, but I think I was away somewhere.
Yeah, I think you were. Yeah, but. Well, why didn't I go then? I would have gone on my own. No,
you did go on your own.
Did I go on my own?
I did
go on my own. I did. Right. Okay. So tell me about the little presents and gifts.
You were supposed to take somebody else from here, but then you disinvited them. Do you remember?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, sorry, I did. I arrived there to find only one seat left at the table. That was for me. That's right. Yeah. No. So what I was going to say was this. So tell me about the presents you've initiated to our friend at Spurs.
I haven't sent him a present.
You haven't said
No, because you've always told me that you've taken care of all of that and that he's your friend, and you didn't allow me to sort of develop my friendship with him. So he's never invited me.
So you didn't bother with the present?
He never invites me. If I'm invited personally, then yes, of course I would reciprocate in some way. But the invitation always comes to you. And you say to me, "Would you like to come with me?"
Yes, but
that's not the same as me getting the invitation.
But you took huge advantage of his hospitality.
I wouldn't say that.
Well, did you take advantage of his hospitality?
Well, I think taking advantage of his hospitality is the wrong phrase.
He invited you in, gave you
his,
food and drink and a seat, a very expensive seat to watch a game of football.
I very gratefully accepted his hospitality. Why wouldn't
I? And you didn't think you had to respond in any way?
No, I did, because I sent him a note on what you might regard as a social media forum, where I was able to send him a private message.
But not a present?
Not a present, no, because it's not my place to do that. Because you're the guy who's invited.
I think it is your place to do it.
Well, if you want me to do that next time, I will. But he never sends me the invitation. He sends you the invitation.
Good job I sent him a present, wasn't it?
Well,
on each occasion.
You do whatever you like.
Which I paid for.
Well, you do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you like.
Yeah.
What did you send him?
What?
What did you send him? Because I'll ask him next time we go.
On one occasion, I sent him a fantastic bottle of red wine.
Do you remember what it was?
No.
I'll just take a note of it because then I can ask him.
And on another
You didn't
occasion...
send him like a bottle of Beaujolais from your crappy old cellar, did you?
No, but I put it in your name and mine. That's how generous I am as spirit, right?
Oh, that's very kind of you.
And the second time...
But you're the guy that's invited. That's the way it works. If I was invited to somewhere, right, and you were not named in the invite, but somebody said to me, "Would you like to bring so and so with you?" And I would then take care of the thanks.
And the second time, I sent him something even better.
What was that?
A Two Mikes DVD.
Oh, that was good of you.
Yes, he loved it.
Did you pay for it?
No,
you told me I had to pay for a T-shirt.
No,
I was sent to the guy that did sort out my bowls.
No, we've had them made, haven't we? So the cost implication wasn't severe.
No, but you should still buy it. If you're going to give it away to one of your friends.
You're putting me buying it.
Why not?
Well, we own them. Why should we buy them?
Well, you said to me I had to buy a T-shirt. You told me I had to pay £10 for a T-shirt.
Yeah, well, that's different.
Send to somebody else who wants it signed, by the way, by you as well.
Oh, really?
Incredibly.
Okay.
This is Talk Sport. Porky Vision coming next.
As your TV reviewer, I can reveal there are no plans for a new series.
Yeah, no, but wasn't there a previous series?
Oh, hang on, wait a minute. It says here there might be a new series. What's the problem?
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics, and that music can signal only one thing. It is, of course, a Porky Vision, where Mr. Parry tells us what he's been watching on television this week. I guess it's been a bit difficult with all the football that's been on as well.
Well, of course it has.
Not so much football this week, because it's down to the quarterfinals and semi-finals. But presumably you have to have some time, and also Wimbledon. I mean, I found myself having to watch Andy Murray and the football
there you go.
last night.
Exactly.
Amazing game, by the way. We should talk about that in a while. But what have you been watching this week then? Well, you can tell us.
Well,
about.
I think in a minute I'm going to concentrate on a catch-up on Coronation Street, because I haven't spoken about Coronation Street for a long time.
That's true, you haven't.
And there is an incredible amount of both bladderation and Rogerisation happening on a regular basis in Coronation Street. And as they are increasing the number of episodes a week from 5 at the moment to 6, that means there's going to be even more Rogerisation, bladderisation. And I do think it's a moral challenge to the country, because everybody sees Coronation Street really as a moral barometer of how life should be led. You know, with guys like Ken Barlow, with guys like Deirdre, who sadly is no longer with us, but you know her pseudo-comic life and the values and standards she had. Rita, who runs the cabin, you know, she's got standards and values.
Lovely Rita.
But there's a generation of other characters in Coronation Street now who are into not just Rogerisation, bladderisation, but murder.
Right.
And murder's not a good thing.
Den of iniquity, then, isn't it?
Yeah, but I'll get on to that in a minute. Now,
do you really think that Coronation Street is now as realistic as it used to be? Does it not kind of gone off the scale?
No. I think they've managed to keep up with the times pretty well. But there are one or two things about it which I am not happy with, which I will tell you about in a minute. Okay.
Yeah.
Now the thing I want to talk to you about is Emmerdale.
Yeah.
Emmerdale.
Right.
I'm going to start watching it.
Why?
Well, because I think I quite like some of the trailers I've seen.
All right.
And also, it seems to have a cast of very attractive young ladies, okay?
Is that the real reason?
It's one of the reasons.
Right.
Now, you see, the thing is...
I take great pride in the fact I've never watched any of these things.
Well, you should. You should. Now, you would think, wouldn't you? You'd say, well, hang on, if you're into them soaps and all that kind of stuff, why not... see, I keep saying that, them soaps.
Them soaps?
It's the way footballers speak.
Yeah, but why are you aping footballers?
Those soaps, right?
Or even these soaps.
Yeah, the soaps. Now, Hollyoaks is set in Chester, my hometown. So you'd think to yourself, well, in that case, shouldn't you be watching a bit of Hollyoaks?
I sometimes catch the end of Hollyoaks because I quite often watch the Channel 4 News.
Yeah.
And it's the last couple of minutes.
I don't know why you watch Channel 4 News. It's done by Jon Snow.
I like the Channel 4 News.
He's an arch-lefty. You're an arch-righty. I just don't know why you watch it.
First of all, again, you completely and utterly misconstrue my political situation. I'm not either an arch-righty or an arch-lefty.
OK, I'll accept that.
I like to actually be...
an arch in the middle.
Well, I'm not in the middle either.
It's very loaded, Channel 4 News. It's very left-wing.
Well, it can be very left-wing, but it also happens to have some of the best foreign coverage of any news that you can get around the world, right?
You think,
and it happens to have some very good debates on it as well.
Anyway, listen, getting back to it. So, but I won't watch Hollyoaks, you see, because Hollyoaks is very young kids.
Yeah.
And I'd feel like an old lech if I was watching it, just to look at just look at the glamorous young ladies in Hollyoaks,
in the last 3 minutes that I sometimes see from time to time, I mean, they seem to have I don't know. I mean, there's always some ridiculous storyline which is
Yeah.
involving, like you say, either murder
Yeah.
or some kind of,
Something like that,
Rogerisation.
yeah.
But they're all in their kind of 20s, I would
But
say.
anyway, I want to talk to you about Spectre as well. I think it's the worst Bond film that's ever been made.
Well, that's not on
Too
television,
long.
though, technically.
Well, it is, because I'm telling you now, it was on Sky Cinema last Friday night.
Was it?
Okay,
All right.
so it is on television.
Okay.
So it can
I
come
thought
into
you-
the
I thought you
Porky
bought
Vision.
I thought you bought a DVD of it.
Well,
though.
I did, but the fact is, it's on television anyway. It's now a television programme, okay?
Okay, all right.
So, what I was going to say is that, Coronation Street, right? Now, what's happening there is that...
Are you sure you're going to be up to date on this? Because you're often accused of being a little bit
No,
behind.
I'm pretty up to date.
Uh-huh.
There's a real sort of scrote of a young lady. I'd
what?
call her a scrote because she's...
Scrote?
Yeah,
Isn't
she's...
that a masculine insult?
Well, she's female. She's
can't
female
call
scrote.
Well, you can't call a woman a scrote.
Well,
I don't
her
think
character...
you
No, it's not a real person. It's a character.
No, but you can't regard a woman as that, though.
No.
Surely it's a man. You can call a man that.
No,
I'm not sure
no.
you can say it on the radio.
No, she is the female equivalent, honestly.
Well, you know what it's short for, don't you?
No, I don't.
You don't know what scrote is short for.
Oh, it's not scrote something else, is it? Is it? No? Okay. Well, in that
What
case...
did you think it was short for?
And
she doesn't have one, okay?
No, I see. I thought it was SCROAT, and it was a medieval
Well, as in,
expression.
like, stoat.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
Well, maybe you could use the word stoat instead.
medieval expression for a person of low sort of fibre.
like
you know.
something that sort of
anyway, what I'd
forages
say,
around.
she's a grubby little individual,
Yes.
right? And she used to knock around with the drug dealer.
Oh, yeah.
But the drug dealer's now been murdered and buried under the concrete
Yeah.
in Gail's bedroom.
Right.
But nobody knows that.
Why has she got a concrete bedroom?
Sorry?
Why has she got concrete in her bedroom?
Well, because they built they changed the garage in the house into a bedroom.
Oh, so it's the ground floor.
Yes, that's right. And while they were doing the foundations, they murdered Liam, who was the drug dealer, right?
Okay.
And they hid his body in the pit that had been dug for the foundations. But
Did
then
you smell of it?
Well, no. The thing is, then the usual thing happened. The contractors turned up early the next day before he'd got up and filled the pit with concrete.
Okay.
See what I mean?
Well, didn't they see the body in there?
Apparently not. Apparently it was dark or
Unbelievable.
something. Yeah, well, no, yeah. But anyway, so she starts pitching up in Coronation Street trying to find this guy.
Yeah.
And then Jason, who is as thick as my fridge door,
Right.
he's Jason Grimshaw, the local builder.
Uh-huh.
He gets a grip of this young lady because he
How do you
feels. Well, he's in the pub and he feels rejected by his former girlfriend,
Oh, okay.
who's very attractive actually, Eve, right?
Eve,
Yeah. And so he's and this girl's throwing herself at him. This woman of no virtue.
Yes.
And so he takes her home and indulges in Rogerisation with
Horizontal
her.
refreshment.
And horizontal refreshment until the following morning. Now it's an interesting house, the Grimshaw house,
Yeah.
because Mrs. Grimshaw lives there as well.
Right, so he took her back to this house with her other people.
Well, it's his family house,
Okay.
but his mother is Mrs. Grimshaw.
Uh-huh.
Her name's Eileen. Eileen Grimshaw.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to be rude about this because obviously there's a real woman in life who's an actress who plays Eileen Grimshaw.
Yes.
But Eileen Grimshaw is what I would regard as a very average-looking middle-aged woman.
Well, isn't that the point of the show? That it's
No,
supposed to be about
no.
ordinary people?
No.
You don't want everybody walking around looking like Angelina
No.
Jolie.
No, she seems to be overweight.
Uh-huh. Well, that's average.
Sorry?
That's average.
Yeah, but she's quite, and she's a big woman. She's overweight, and I don't think she's very pretty. And yet, men are often appearing in her life for mass Rogerisation.
Yeah.
I mean, literally.
Well, how old is she meant to be?
Well, I think she's meant to be about sort of 45 or
Right.
something, you know.
Well, that's exactly
But
the
the
right,
last guy who
the
she,
right
who
sort of
she-
prime age, isn't it?
the last guy that she, she shacked up with on a permanent basis, he moved in. And by the way, they must have a massive house, the Grimshaws, because there's Mrs. Grimshaw with her fella.
Right.
There's Jason with his girl.
Yeah.
They've got a lodger who's a gay chap, and he's got a boyfriend who is a
Right.
gay vicar.
Does he live there as well?
He lives there as well,
Right, okay.
and there seemed a lot of
it's
people living there.
three-bedroom place.
Well, indeed, more than 3 bedrooms. There's 6 people already. And but anyway, Eileen Grimshaw, her last boyfriend was a fireman.
Right.
Now, firemen have the reputation for being, having a keen eye for the female form,
Oh, yeah.
if you see what I mean. But this fireman's either had his eyes affected by flames in a burning building or something, or
Well, because he was with Mrs. Grimshaw.
he's with Mrs. Grimshaw.
Okay. So he's a bit of a toy boy then.
Well, yeah, he was, but the problem was she got all upset about him being a fireman.
Okay.
And he said, why? And she said, well, you run into burning buildings.
Yeah.
He said, well, that's not all my job. I don't do that every day, you know.
He rescues cats, presumably.
Yeah, but she went and complained to his commander-in-chief that, you know, she didn't want him running into any more burning buildings. Yeah.
How bizarre.
A little bit mad. Anyway, so he pushes off. She's now replaced him with the local villain, Pat Phelan.
Okay.
You know, Pat
Phelan,
Phelan, who
okay.
chews chewing gum and looks nasty all the time. And he's like, you know, nicking all Jason's tools from his business and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
All right.
And he's now supplying the horizontal refreshment to Eileen Grimshaw, okay?
Yeah.
But he is a villain. He's a nasty bit of stuff, you know. And in fact, what he did was he blackmailed another lady in the street into Rogerisation.
He sounds a very nasty piece of work.
Nasty bit of stuff. Yeah, Pat Phelan here.
Shocking.
Yeah, it's Pat Phelan, like, you know.
So is he living in his house as well?
He's living in the house with Eileen now, but like, you know, he used to be like a big builder and all that, like, you know. And he blackmailed the wife or the partner of his... Sorry, he blackmailed...
It's very complicated, this.
Yeah, he blackmailed the woman who was the partner of his business partner into Rogerisation in a hotel in the Cheshire countryside because the business partner owed him lots of money on a deal that had gone wrong, and he said he'd rub off the debt if she'd subject herself to an afternoon
off the debt.
of carnal knowledge.
Yeah, right. My ears are starting to hurt. I don't know if it's something to do with Porky Vision.
No.
If I'm having some kind of...
But the worst
episode.
thing, I mean, while all this is going on, there's lots
of time, by the way.
Don't worry about the time.
You've nearly finished this.
There's a lot of lady love sort of thing. Lesbians, yes.
What, in Coronation Street?
In Coronation Street.
Well, not in the same house.
No, not in that house, but there's a triangle. There's a triangle because there's...
Is it a ménage à trois?
There's Sally's daughter, and she fancies a girl who already has a girlfriend who's in the army. You're in the army now. Da, da, da. You know, that's the Status Quo song. And there's a bit of a tussle going on there, so to speak. You see what I mean?
Right.
But I mean, it's happening all over the place and all the time. And the one thing that
sounds like a very confusing show.
No, it's not. No, it's quite simple.
A lot of people's names to remember
when you sit down and watch it. And in the middle of all this.
Alex here has tweeted, by the way, says Porky must have finally found a way to go back in time.
What?
That episode of Corrie is 5 weeks old.
What? No, I don't think it is. And in the middle of all this, old Dev is scouring the street looking for, female companionship, but with, again, with a... What are you laughing at?
Ashley
with
says...
a carnal eye on it.
Jason pulled this scrotum about 2 months ago. Drug dealer's not called Liam, it's Callum.
Oh, Callum, that's right. Yeah, Callum, that's right, yeah. I knew it was... an Iam, or a number, if you see what I mean.
And also this one from Def. It says, Jason doesn't have a girlfriend and the gay vicar doesn't reside there. Apart from that, spot on.
No,
Vision.
No, Jason, Jason doesn't have a girlfriend, but that's why he pulled the scrubber. I'll call her a scrubber, okay?
Yeah, all right.
And,
I'm not sure if that's any more acceptable.
And
I think we're all done for time.
Okay, yeah, well, there you go.
So is it worth watching or not?
That's Porky Vision this week. It's getting exciting.
Okay.
Exciting, yeah.
And here's one from Tony who says, you forgot about Les Dennis sleeping with Eileen Grimshaw.
Oh, yeah, Les Dennis as well. He was another boyfriend of Eileen Grimshaw. So just in the space of a few weeks, she's had the fireman, Les Dennis, who she nicked off the woman across the road, Gail.
Right.
And now Pat Phelan, like, you know what I mean? It's Pat Phelan here. Have you got a few bricks I can nick, eh? You know.
That was Porky Vision. There'll be the same time next week, of course. This is Talk Sport.
There are more questions than answers. Pictures in my mind that will not show. There are more questions than answers.
This is Talk Talk Sport. We are the two mics. There's a tweet that came in a little bit earlier from somebody,
Oh, yes.
which I can't find now, but it says, I don't understand why MG keeps letting Porky choose the listography.
Yeah.
He always wants to do something job-related so he can boast about his career, which is something I hadn't thought of, and so I'll have to obviously be aware of that. Because I want to make sure that the people don't think
Well,
this
you
is
always
not...
read them out to me because you're seeking my advice. What am I supposed to do? So I'm not telling you.
Well, if you could actually handle the hashtag system on Twitter, you could read them out to me.
Well, you do that,
and we could try and do that tomorrow if you want.
Okay.
I don't think you'd be able to.
No, I can do that. Don't be silly.
Most of my
Simple.
most of my career since I was sort of in my 20s, I don't really think I've ever had to interview for a job. Basically, so
but have you interviewed other people?
I have interviewed.
Well,
a
you
few
can tell
other
us about
people,
some of those experiences.
And that's what I'm going to do. But if you don't mind, I can kick off with one.
Yes, please.
Job interview, as you have often sort of ridiculed me for. I did interview for an awful lot of jobs before I got properly into journalism. One of them was to interview for the job of editor of the Campaign for Real Ale's newspaper.
Oh, right,
which I thought would
was
be.
Was this your first attempt to get into journalism?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I'd finished university and I was kind of.
That sounds like a really good job because you'd spend most of your time going around pubs talking to landlords.
Well, there is that, right? And I guess I had to go to St Albans because that's where their headquarters were, Camera. I think they might still be there.
Quite a nice town, St Albans.
It is quite nice.
Yeah.
Well, it's old Verulanium, isn't it? It's got the old Roman ruins and all that. And I got off the train and I had to meet these guys in a pub, which seemed fair enough. And there was three of them, and they were exactly as you would have expected people from the Campaign for Real Ale to be.
Right.
They were wearing sort of sports jackets, woolly jumpers.
Oh, I see.
And they had beards.
Yeah.
Which at that time...
So they looked like camera people, not like professional journalists.
They did. And like all of these things that I've been involved in over the years, I assumed that because the interview was going on in a pub, it was all about how much beer can you drink?
Yes, that's right.
And I drank. I think we did about 7 or 8 pints or something.
Right.
We just sat there and talked about what do you think about the Campaign for Real Ale?
Sure.
And I didn't really have that much interest in the Campaign for Real Ale, but I quite like Real Ale.
Yes.
And the interview I thought went quite well. It did go quite well.
Yeah.
And they got me down to a short list of I think 2.
Yes.
But as ever with a lot of those jobs in my early 20s, they didn't give it to me on the grounds they thought I was a bit too young.
Yes.
But the interview was all about, as I say, me sort of giving them the benefit of my great analysis of the beer business.
Yes.
But basically just getting drunk.
Excellent.
And I'm very glad. It's one of those jobs I'm very glad I didn't get.
Yes.
Because if I had done, who knows what would happen.
Yeah, but that's a sliding doors syndrome, isn't it? Nobody knows which turn life would have taken if you'd have taken up an opportunity that was offered to you in those days.
Yeah.
Right, okay?
Yeah, exactly.
Good man.
Right, so go on.
Right, well, the first time I ever got involved in journalism was when I decided I wanted to be a journalist and went into the Chester Chronicle.
Yeah.
And... I mean, to be honest, I just left the University of the Trent because I knew that I'd fancy that. I really fancied something else. University of the Trent, please.
Yeah.
So it went like this. I walked down Bridge Street in Chester, and I turned left into the Chester Chronicle offices, and I said, "Oh, hello, I'm sorry to bother you." I had no idea. I didn't have a clue how papers worked or anything like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Could I possibly see the editor?
So you had no training at all?
None whatsoever. The idea had just come to me. That's what I wanted to do.
Been to Newcastle had you not done that yet?
No, I hadn't done that.
Oh, I see.
This is the point.
All right.
The only thing I'd ever done is write match reports for the King's School Chester First 11.
Okay.
Which I'd sent to the other paper in town, which is the Cheshire Observer.
And had they published them?
Yeah, but I mean, not under my name or anything. It's just a list of details of the players and who scored the goals and all that kind of stuff,
Right.
So I went in, so I could see the editor, and they said, "What, have you got a story?" And I said, "What's a story?" It's that sort of thing, Anyway, eventually I managed to bungle my way through to get into the editor's outer office.
Yes.
And, he had a sort of... he had a PA, a secretary, but she was very old. I mean, she was like 50 or something.
So you didn't try getting involved with her?
Well, no. I mean, she wasn't a young, sort of... what the word?
Someone you could impress with your...
Well, exactly. My rapier-like wit or anything like that.
Yeah.
So she said, you just have to wait, Michael. She's quite motherly, just wait. Mr. Hughes is just, sorting his mail out and all that kind of stuff. So after about 10 minutes...
this is one of 3, by the way.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah. She said, you can go in now. So I went in, and Herbert Hughes was sitting there.
Herbert Hughes?
Herbert Hughes.
Yeah.
He was the editor. He was a very old man. He had glasses on, and his hair had gone like, steely grey, like, white almost.
A bit like yours.
Yeah, and he said, "Yeah, can I help you?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, hello, monsieur." Yes, my name's Mike Parry. He said, I want to be a journalist. I want to be a reporter." And he said, "Oh, well, I'm sorry." He said, "We start this process." This was, by the way, sort of September.
Uh-huh.
He said... no, it wasn't. It was about August. He said, we've started this process.
This is the first.
Hang on, don't worry.
One of
Don't worry.
three.
Don't worry.
I haven't done the other two yet.
Don't worry. He
well,
said,
I'm worried.
We said we start this process in January. He said, and we've whittled down 60 applicants to 4 who are going off to training college in a month's time. So I'm sorry, you'll just have to try and get yourself onto next year's.
Right.
And as he's talking, he's opening mail. And he opened the letter, and as I said, all right, thank you very much. So I turned around to walk out the room. And he opened and said, oh, hang on, what did you say your name was again? I said, Mike what? Mike Parry, right. And he called in Doreen, this young Parry here, he's going on the training course. I've just had this letter from this lad he's pulled out. So I leapt to the top of the 60-strong queue of
just
potentials.
by virtue of being there.
At the right time.
Yeah.
It was incredible. And within 2 weeks, I was on my way to Newcastle to the training centre where I stayed for 6 months.
There you go.
Unbelievable.
Right, my second one is somebody I interviewed for a job at the Welsh Mirror, actually.
Right.
So I was in Canary Wharf.
Yep.
And I took this guy out for lunch who was a sort of what you would call a regional journalist
Yes.
from one of the other papers.
Right.
Sort of, I can't remember exactly where he was working, but he might have been somewhere in the West Country.
Yeah.
Anyway, we were looking basically for either a news editor or sort of a night editor, something
Yes.
like that. And so I had a very, good lunch with him. He spoke very well. He seemed to be quite capable of what he was doing. He seemed to know his way around Wales quite well.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, well, I'm sure we can draw up, a contract. I said, there isn't really anybody else I'm looking at because you look like the right guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, about a week later, right, I get a phone call from him
Yes.
to say that something terrible has happened to him and that he doesn't really want to go into the absolute and utter details of it. But
His wife left him.
no, he said he was suffering from a really, really horrible illness. He said, I don't really want to obviously reveal it over the phone.
Yeah.
But he said, there's a chance that I could actually, not last the year.
Good God.
He said, so I feel I've got to ring you to tell you this because obviously you might want to wish to find
What was the illness?
another candidate. Well, here's the kicker. About 2 weeks after that, I'm reading the Press Gazette and he's been appointed the editor of the Oxford Times.
No.
And I thought to myself, what a scumbag.
Yes.
I mean, imagine coming... Why you just rung me and said...
I've got a
I'm really
life-threatening
sorry.
illness.
Yeah, he told me he had a life-threatening illness.
Good God.
And that was his reasoning for not being able to take the job.
Absolutely shocking.
Yeah, so he's been on my list for some time.
Okay.
I'm not going to give his name, obviously.
Right, I'll speak to my next two, and then you can do your third.
All right.
Right, my second one was the Sunday Express had a reshuffle, and Eve Pollard was the editor, the wife of our esteemed leader, Sir Nicholas Lloyd.
Yeah.
They were the most powerful newspaper couple in Fleet Street at the time. And Nick told me, probably he was trying to get rid of me, I was on the shortlist for the job as deputy.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he did, yeah. yeah. So
that was never going to happen.
Well, anyway.
She would never have appointed you.
So
deputy.
anyway, for the next 3 weeks, literally the next 3 weeks, I never drank a drop because I could have been called at any time to see Eve, you know, to be grilled for the position of deputy editor of the Sunday Express. And then after 3 weeks, I thought, this is never going to happen. So I went out with Walker, our friend, Mr. Ian Walker, who's my deputy.
You don't have to give his name away.
And we had a 4-bottle lunch, at the Tall House round the corner, you know, in Southwark Street.
Yeah.
And came back at about 3:45 to find a note on my desk saying Eve would like to see you about the deputy editor's job on the Sunday Express.
Right.
I could not speak, literally. So I rang her.
Is this your version of rushing through one?
Yeah, I rang her PA.
Yes, we've got about 30 seconds left.
I rang her PA and said, I can't make it. She said, you've got to. I went up there and I was so drunk I couldn't speak properly. I didn't get the job.
Yeah.
The third one was a kid who came to me, wanted a job as a reporter, but during the interview broke down and cried in front of me because he said, I'm of Muslim faith, but I've sinned, I've been drinking alcohol, I'm not worthy of it, and walked out.
Yeah. Well, I haven't got time to give mine now.
Oh.
You've just completely monopolised the entire
I'm
show.
sorry, but
you
you
started
spent
the
too
show
long.
by monopolising it.
Spent too
You've
long.
ended the show by monopolising it. You know, I'm going to have to start putting some curbs on you.
I
Because
don't think so,
obviously
mate.
people are going to start complaining.
People
they
like
don't tune
listening
in
to
just
me.
to hear you babbling on about nothing at all.
I think they do.
Absolutely incredible. What a plank. This is TalkSport. This is TalkSport. We are the two mics. We are pretty much out of time, but I'll just read you a few appreciations of your Porky Vision.
Oh, thanks.
Did Porky find an old copy of Radio Times in the bin to research Porky Vision this week?
That's a bit harsh.
Out-of-date plank, says
That's
Dave.
a bit harsh.
And Carl says, Porky the man from Chester, isn't it amazing how rubbish his Mancunian accent is? And Daniel
wasn't
says...
Mancunian, it was Scouse.
No, by the way, the fireman... Well, I think that's what he means. It's not a Mancunian accent.
Right, yeah.
The fireman died about 2 years ago. Worst Porky Vision
did
ever,
he?
says Daniel.
Did he? Oh, right,
And
okay.
then Stephen says, so Porky Vision consists of one TV show.
No.
And DJ Brizey says, Porky is 6 months out. The body has been found by the police and Jason's dad has been accused of murder, even though he's dead.
Oh, right. Okay. Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm afraid you're getting 0 out of 10 for that one.
Well,
but,
look, it's difficult
you haven't got time to defend it because you've been talking way too much babbling. Tomorrow, I don't want to hear any more babbling from you.
It's in the middle of football.
Yeah, stop right now.
Oh, where do you think Trendy is
Well,
then?
Trendy is in London,
In
right?
Camden. In Camden
well,
Town.
Camden is trendy.
Rubbish.
Yeah, it is.
We went to Camden and did a show there. It's like a pit.
Yeah, it's
not trendy.
It's a very up-and-coming area.
Up and coming. It's full of filth.
Yeah, it is full of filth.
Yeah, exactly.
Particularly full of filth when you were there.
If you love the Two Mics podcast, you'll love the live show. Weekday overnights from 1am on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM and via the TalkSport app. TalkSport, your Premier League station with exclusive commentaries every weekend.
What an absolute corker!
TalkSport.
Man's best friend has always been thought to be a dog, right?
Yeah.
It's not anymore.
What is it now?
Man's best friend is a goat. No, it is. Honest to God.
Are you talking about Wales now again?
No, I'm not talking about whales at all. Scientists have found out that the instincts of a goat are absolutely identical to dogs, and that for...
Well, if they're identical to dogs, then dogs are still man's best friend.
No, goats are friendly.
Are
For
they?
10,000 years, we've ignored the aspect of the personality of the goat, which is more favourable than the dog.
I must say, I've eaten goat. It's very much more palatable than suggesting that you should eat a dog.